systems. So what's Globus? It's a secure, reliable service. More than 150,000 registered users rely on Globus. More than 150,000 registered users rely on Globus. So what's Globus? It's a secure, reliable service. With the Globus platform, you can easily incorporate robust capabilities. And if the data is sensitive, no problem. Globus can be used to manage protected data. With Globus, you can easily share your data without having to move it or copy it. With Globus, subscribers can easily move and share. And if you have any more questions about Globus, visit Globus. More than 150,000 registered users rely on Globus. More than 150,000 registered users rely on Globus. If this sounds familiar, you're not alone. Many thousands face the same challenges every day and solve them with Globus. So what's Globus? So what's Globus? It's a secure, reliable service. With the Globus platform, you can easily incorporate robust capabilities. More than 150,000 registered users rely on Globus. More than 150,000 registered users rely on Globus. And if the data is sensitive, no problem. Globus can be used to manage protected data. With Globus, you can easily share your data without having to move it or copy it. With Globus, subscribers can easily move and share. And if you have any more questions about Globus, visit Globus. So how can you get started using Globus? Anyone can use Globus right now for free to transfer files between Globus-enabled systems. So what's Globus? It's a secure, reliable service. More than 150,000 registered users rely on Globus. More than 150,000 registered users rely on Globus. So what's Globus? It's a secure, reliable service. With the Globus platform, you can easily incorporate robust capabilities. And if the data is sensitive, no problem. Globus can be used to manage protected data. With Globus, you can easily share your data without having to move it or copy it.
Yeah. Yo. Yo. What up, though? What up, though? What up, though? What up, though? I wish you could hear how loud Ferris purrs. It is so loud. All right. All right, so we got some news to get to real quick. We're gonna bang through that. Aiming for whatever we get to by, let's say, 6 o'clock, so hour, and then and then we got some video, and then after that, so 2 hours for video, then we're gonna fire up movie night. So let's get into it. UK government outlines AI safety summit plans. Announced plans for Global AI Safety Summit on the 1st and 2nd November of 2023. Aims to address the pressing challenges and opportunities presented by AI development on both national and international scales. Paris. Crucial step, pivotal platform. One of the core focuses of the summit will be on identifying and mitigating risks associated with the most powerful AI systems. These risks include the potential misuse of AI for activities such as undermining biosecurity through the proliferation of sensitive information. The summit aims to explore how AI can be harnessed for the greater good, encompassing domains like life-saving medical technology and safer transportation. I did not get an invite, but I will be looking forward to hear what they talk about. Baidu dropped the Ernie bot. This was a few days ago. Now the difference, like the bots that we've been getting, the various AIs that we've been getting are, like generally speaking, single application, right? Like it's pictures, it's text, it's video, but like the whatever it is, their version of Twitter. I can't remember what it is, but their version of Twitter, or their social media app is like an all-in-one kind of thing. ErnieBot can generate text, images, and videos based on natural language inputs. Powered by Ernie, enhanced representation through knowledge integration, a powerful deep learning model. Like, don't I look busy? Baidu is one of the first Chinese companies to obtain approval from authorities to release generative AI experiences to the public, according to Bloomberg. The report suggests that officials see AI as a business and political imperative for China and want to ensure that the technology is used in a responsible and ethical manner. Beijing is keen on putting guardrails in place to prevent the spread of harmful or illegal content while still enabling Chinese companies to compete with overseas rivals in the field of AI. So, As usual with the Chinese stuff, we have to wait and see what actually comes out rather than what is said. GitLab developers view AI as essential despite concerns. A survey by GitLab has shed light on the views of developers on the. Are you done? On the views of developers on the landscape of AI and software development. Do you see this nonsense? Are you done? She's like rubbing her head up against the headphones. Like this. What up, Dottie? Insight from over 1,000 global senior technology executives, developers, and security operations professionals. The report reveals a complex relationship between enthusiasm for AI adoption and concerns about data privacy, intellectual property, and security. Enterprises are seeking out platforms that allow them to harness the power of AI while addressing potential privacy and security risks. 83% of the survey's respondents view AI implementation as essential to stay competitive. A significant 79% expressed worries about the AI tools accessing sensitive information and intellectual property. 32% of respondents admitted to being very or extremely concerned. Within this group, 39% cited worries about AI generated code introducing security vulnerabilities, and 48% expressed concern that AI generated code may not receive the same copyright protection as code produced by humans. That is. It's difficult to say because the one ruling we've had so far about copyright was on a piece of IP that was created entirely through the through an AI rather than like a collaborative effort. From TechCrunch Plus Market Analysis, derivative works are generative AI's poison pill. Let's see what we have here. Llama 2 launch being the first open source LLM, and all the excitement, it's easy to forget the real cloud of uncertainty over legal issues like IP, ownership, and copyright in the generative AI space. Generally, people are jumping in under the assumption that regulatory risk is something that the companies creating LLMs need to worry about. It's a dangerous assumption without considering generative AI's poison pills, derivatives. While derivative works have specific legal treatment under copyright law, there are few precedents for laws or regulations addressing data derivatives, which are, thanks to open source LLMs, about to get more prevalent. So yes, like you can say that there are few precedents for the laws because there are few precedents for the technology. Oh, and it's a member exclusive, right? Yeah. All right, never mind. This is what happens when you don't pre-watch or pre-read. New open source AI language model Falcon overtakes Meta and Google. Meta's massive 70 billion parameter Llama 2 has been outflanked by the newly released 180 billion parameter Falcon large language models. Wonder what kind of information will be gatekept in the future. Like, I don't know, probably the same percentages as gatekept now. Just like the future of open source is always going to be a strange one. Reading this book, The Coming Wave, I still think everyone should read it, but it seems to ask a lot of questions and not provide as many answers as I think it could. And it seems to present to me, now again, this is a thing, this is me with my information set, and him with his information set, and I don't know what he knows, or what he thinks. But Mustafa Suleiman is like, there are things that I see in the book that are at direct opposition to each other, but that he thinks both things need to happen. And I don't know, man. The artificial intelligence community has a new feather in its cap with the release of Falcon 180B, an open source large language model boasting 180 billion parameters trained on a mountain of data. This powerful newcomer has surpassed prior open source LLMs on several fronts. Announced in a blog post by the Hugging Face AI community, Falcon has been released on Hugging Face Hub. The latest model architecture builds on the previous Falcon series of open source LLMs, leveraging innovations like multi-query attention to scale up to 180 billion parameters trained on 3.5 trillion tokens. This represents the longest single epoch pre-training for an open source model to date. To achieve such marks, 4,096 GPUs were used simultaneously for around 7 million GPU hours using Amazon SageMaker for training and refining. To put the size of Falcon 180B into perspective, its parameters measure 2.5 times larger than Llama 2. Llama 2 was previously considered the most capable open source LLM after its launch earlier this year, boasting 70 billion parameters trained on 2 trillion tokens. It surpasses Llama 2 and other models in both scale and benchmark performance across a range of natural language processing tasks. It ranks on the leaderboard for open access models at 68.74 points and reaches near parity with commercial models like Palm 2 on evaluations like the Hella Swag benchmark. Oh, I love Hella Swag. So yeah, it basically, short version is you have an open source, at least competitive, right? Like it not necessarily, when compared against GPT or ChatGPT, the model is more powerful than the free version, but a little less capable than the paid plus service, right? And that's what you would expect. But that puts pressure on the paid service, because the thing about ChatGPT is it's the interface, right? It's the UI. We're at a point where the UI, you're kind of always at a point where the UI is important, but like really important. If you want to put your model into people's hands, it has to have a UI that that the average citizen can use, right? You can have a great model that exists on GitHub and open source, and you can download it and you can run it in, whatever, and you can do all these things, but it's like the difference between Linux and Windows. People who like Linux love Linux, and there's a bunch of capabilities that exist within Linux and all that kind of stuff, but it doesn't have the UI that Windows does. And that's where Windows, that was the way that the game really took off, was with the UI of Windows. So that's what you need. ChatGPT is a very easy to use UI. I push button, I get bacon. It's that simple. Speaking of Mustafa Suleiman, AI will scramble geopolitical power if left unchecked, one executive says. Mustafa argues that there are 10 steps that government and companies can take to mitigate the most destructive threats posed by artificial intelligence. We should encourage regulatory experimentation and risk taking, because this is the moment when I think no one really knows for sure how this is going to roll out, in an interview with Politico Tech podcast. And so we've got to sort of try to avoid being hypercritical of efforts that are genuinely trying to figure out a sensible path here. New book, The Coming Wave, writes that regulation alone cannot thwart the most pressing threats as AI-powered technology becomes cheaper and more ubiquitous, but governments stand a better chance of keeping pace with AI's evolution. They installed tech-savvy overseers with the knowledge and resources to put checks on industry. It's the missing piece in a lot of policy making and government decision making. I mean, it is a travesty that we don't have senior technical contributors in cabinet and every other government department, given how critical digitization is to every aspect of the world. Suleiman predicts fully autonomous AI is less than a decade away, and to buy time, the U.S. government should leverage choke points by restricting the sale of critical technologies to China and other adversaries. And this includes high-tech microchips made by NVIDIA and cloud computing services from the likes of Google, IBM, and Amazon. None of them like the authoritarian and centralized control type government that China has, right? And this is I don't like authoritarianism. I don't like hierarchies for that reason, right? Say whatever you want about Xi, right? Like, he could be the best king that they ever had, right? You could have the best king. What's about the next guy? If you have centralized authority, you are relying on that authority to never be wrong. Now, they tend to gloss over, there are points in the book in which he acknowledges, that some of the surveillance state exists in the West, in the Western world, that exists in China, but not to the level that, he points it out in China. It's just going to be the nature of people who are profit driven and their attitudes towards China. Even if they do business there, the United States, for instance, and Europe to a slightly lesser extent, tend to favor business, I guess is a nice way to put it. Export controls are then not just a geostrategic play, but a live experiment, a possible map for how technology can be contained but not strangled altogether. Eventually, all these technologies will be widely diffused. Before then, the next 5 or so years are absolutely critical, a tight window when certain pressure points can still slow technology down. While the option is there, let's take it and buy time. Now, in the book, he points to how the U.S. and like Europe is way behind. UK is number 3 in investment. U.S. is 1, China's 2, UK is 3 currently. If you were here for it, we looked on a previous occasion at the expected expenditures that put Singapore as taking number 3, but then I saw an article more recently that indicated that the UK was going to maintain its number 3 position going into 2024. We shall see. But the investment that is currently going on in China, because of the nature of, centralized government, authoritarianism, you can get stuff done easier, right? Because you just decide it's going to happen and then it happens. And it's something that the U.S. plays with, right? Like, we always seem to have money when we need money, but we don't have money when we don't need money. You know what I mean? We don't have money for your kid's playground, but we got money for a B-2 bomber. And like the world's largest, the Wuhan lab that gets talked about by the Lab Leak folks, is like the biggest lab of its type in the world. Right? They have the capacity to get the materials needed, the rare metals and whatnot needed, directly from within their borders, for some aspects of what is needed for quantum computing and AI. There is just some aspect of the construction of chips that they are missing out on. That they have something because they have Ernie, right? They have Ernie Bot out there, but there's some aspect that is unclear to me as to something that's holding them behind. And it could just be a lack of, that investment. But again, that investment there comes from business, but it also comes from the government. Where over here, it just comes from business. And so it's going to follow whatever can get the ROI rather than, that created environment that you get with a more centralized structure. Let's see, the industry must also revamp business models that prioritize profit over the negative consequences that AI can have on society. It's the approach that Suleiman says he has taken with Inflection AI, he said, establishing the Upstart as a public benefit corporation in which executives have obligations that go beyond simply generating value for shareholders. It's a new kind of legal structure. It's experimental. It's not clear that you will always get it right, but I do think it's a first step in the right direction to give us a proper legal framework to try and make decisions that really are in the best interest of people long term, and don't just optimize for short-term profit maximization. So, like, there's some, like, upside and downside to Mustafa. I don't know. Jury's out. a little unclear because his thoughts in the book, I think, are a little unclear. Here we got Vox, Silicon Valley's vision for AI. It's religion repackaged. Sigal Samuel, senior reporter, she writes primarily on the future of consciousness, tracking advances in artificial intelligence and neuroscience, and their staggering ethical implications. Before joining Vox, Sigal was the religion editor at The Atlantic. Suppose I told you that in 10 years, the world as you know it will be over. You will live in a sort of paradise. You won't get sick or age or die. Eternal life will be yours! Exclamation point. Even better, your mind will be blissfully free of uncertainty. You'll have access to perfect knowledge. Oh, and you'll no longer be stuck on Earth. Instead, you can live up in the heavens. That's hyperbolic. The more you listen to Silicon Valley's discourse around AI, the more you hear echoes of religion. That's because a lot of the excitement about building a super intelligent machine comes down to recycled religious ideas. Most secular technologists who are building AI just don't recognize that. Oh, okay. These technologists propose cheating death by uploading our minds to the cloud. That is one thing. There are other things where we can live digitally for all eternity. They talk about AI as a decision-making agent that can judge with mathematical certainty what's optimal and what's not. And they envision artificial general intelligence, a hypothetical system that can match human problem-solving abilities across many domains, as an endeavor that guarantees human salvation if it goes well, even as it spells doom if it goes badly. These visions are almost identical to the visions of Christian eschatology. I think that's how that's pronounced. The branch of theology that deals with the end times or the final destiny of humanity. The intertwining of religion and technology is centuries old. What up, old lobster? Despite the people who will tell you that science, what up, Adam, is value neutral and divorced from things like religion. A professor of religious studies said that is simply not true. It never has been true. Fact historians tracing the influence of religious ideas contend that we can draw a straight line from Christian theologians in the Middle Ages to the father of empiricism in the Renaissance, to the futurist Ray Kurzweil, to the tech heavyweights he's influenced in Silicon Valley. Occasionally, someone there still dimly senses the parallels. Sometimes I think a lot of the breathless enthusiasm for AGI is misplaced religious impulses from people brought up in a secular culture. Jack Clark, co-founder of Anthropic. Mostly, though, the figures spouting the AI vision as a kind of techno-eschatology from Sam Altman to Elon Musk express their ideas in secular language. They're either unaware or unwilling to admit that the vision they're selling, that is two options of the available options. Yes. Unaware, unwilling, or... Yeah, because do I see the parallels that she's drawing? Do I understand her argument? I do. Right? The idea of AI has always been deeply religious. Just because it rhymes does not mean it's the same. Right? If you want to interpret it that way, you can, but just because it rhymes does not mean it's the same. Like people do the history repeats itself? No, history rhymes, right? By this measure, any advances in civilization are religious. And there is an argument for that because religion, the power base of religion served to either assist or reduce the efficacy of science at any given point in time, right? Like Galileo had to deal with religious issues. Many people operating on scientific aspects were associate like the church would fund people to do stuff, and then they would frame that this stuff is okay because this is what God wants us to do. And then if there was something that they didn't like, this is unacceptable, God wouldn't want this, right? Like that's a lot of history has to do with that because of the nature of power and the nature of money and how those things interacted. Like kings are directly related to religion because the king ultimately got his power from God. That's how that works. So no. The human species, along with the computational technology created, will be able to solve age-old problems and will be in a position to change change the nature of mortality in a post-biological future, wrote Kurzweil, Age of Spiritual Machines. Strong New Testament vibes there, per the book of Revelation. Death shall be no more, neither shall there be mourning, nor crying, nor pain any more, for the former things have passed away. So that's it. Like, game over, folks. You can't do anything to try and offset death because Simpsons did it, right? Like, that's. Transhumanists, effective altruists, and long-termerists, God, I hate that word, have inherited the view that the end of times are nigh and that technological progress is our best shot at moral progress. The end times, to an extent, are nigh because we set fire to the planet. Right? Not turmeric, long-termists. For people operating within this logic, it seems natural to pursue AGI. Even though they view AGI as a top existential risk, they believe we can't afford not to build it, given its potential to catapult humanity out of its precarious earthbound adolescence, which will surely end any minute. The shit is literally on fire or flooding or both. Have y'all seen like what's happening with Hong Kong? Jesus Christ. And into flourishing interstellar adulthood, so many happy people, so much moral value. Okay. As we have learned, scientific advancement eventually happens if the laws of physics do not prevent it. Have we learned that? I see no evidence to suggest that anything that can be invented necessarily will be invented. As AI Impacts wrote, consider a machine that sprays shit in our eyes. We can technologically do that, but probably nobody has ever built that machine because nobody wants that machine. Okay, you lost me. Like I was sarcastic a bit, because obviously this person's agenda conflicts with mine. But straw man, right? Nobody wants the shit in the eye spraying machine. It'll be in the Discord if you want to look at it. So, funny that, right? Like they were going to hire 48,000 IRS agents to go after people. No. IRS deploys artificial intelligence to catch tax evasion. The tax agency is opening examinations into large hedge funds, private equity groups, real estate investors, and law firms. Oh, it's kind of hilarious. The announcement Friday was intended to show how a more muscular IRS is using some of the $80 billion allocated through last year's Inflation Reduction Act to target the wealthiest Americans and tackle the kinds of cases that have become too complex and cumbersome for the beleaguered agency to handle. The agency's new funding is supposed to help the IRS raise more federal revenue by cracking down on tax cheats and others who use sophisticated accounting maneuvers to avoid paying what they owe. But the allocation has been politically contentious. With Republicans claiming the IRS will use the funding to harass small business and middle-class taxpayers. Earlier this year, Republicans succeeded in clawing back $20 billion as part of an agreement to raise the nation's borrowing cap. Yeah. These words, small business and middle-class taxpayer, evokes the idea of the mom and pop and maybe one neighborhood kid running a little convenience store. The middle class is like $250,000 a year. I don't know about you, but my household doesn't make anywhere near that. And small business goes up to like, what is it, under 500 employees? You'd be surprised at how many small businesses we got. Everyone with a brain knew who the IRS budget was going to go after. Well, no, I mean, they could have been right? Because the IRS has a history of going after smaller individuals because they don't have the resources to defend themselves. AI can change that. And because they're complex and it's a lot of little data points all over the place, that can be hard for human beings to figure out. But if you shove it all in ChatGPT and bust out the code interpreter, I bet you come up with something. What happens when AI replaces a traditional first job? This is from Fast Company. As a class of 2023, summer parties, entry-level positions like receptionist, administrative assistant, contact center worker, and cashier often represent the first point of contact between a customer and a business. These customer-facing roles are exactly the ones that emerging technologies from ChatGPT to touchscreen ordering systems are well equipped to handle. Small business doesn't have shell companies and offshore accounts. Yeah. AI can't be bargained with. It can't be bribed. It has a mission. It has to follow the money. Yep. According to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, in 2021, there were 2.8 million jobs classified as customer service representative. The agency expects a 4% decline in these jobs by 2131. I hope you mean 2031 first off, and even then, this is a tiny ass little number. These jobs are gone, dude. AI is already being put to work. Wendy's recently introduced generative AI enabled customer service at the drive-thru. Wendy's Fresh AI is intended to feel as natural as interacting with a crew member. At Live Person, where I work, our customer support team leapfrogged an entire year of work by adding generative AI to our customer support bot. The results speak for themselves. 30% more inquiries are resolved during the first point of contact. I'm telling you. So here's a couple of ways that proactive job seekers can prepare for this paradigm shift. Familiarize yourself with AI concepts. Begin with basics. You don't necessarily need to know the nitty gritty about machine learning, deep learning, and natural language processing. You can begin to read articles and watch videos about what AI is good at and what it's not. Or you can tune in Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 5 p.m. Eastern. Watch this show, and I will help you with that. This will help you understand at a high level what role you can play and where you may need to learn more. The Stanford AI Index. Measuring trends in artificial intelligence. That'll be helpful. Learn to use conversational searches and prompts. If you haven't already, try using ChatGPT and other generative AI products. Say it again. If you haven't already, try using ChatGPT and other generative AI products. Join the Discord. Go follow my man, Matt Wolf's futuretools.io. It's very easy to use. You can click buttons like free, and all the things there are free. There may be, I haven't looked at all of them. There may be ones that have like, free parts and paid parts, or free within a certain time frame, but there is a lot of stuff here for you to work with. So yeah. What else we got? So on that idea of why you not and yes, I'm talking to you. I'm talking specifically to you. Why you can use AI no matter what you're doing. Young man asked ChatGPT for truck alignment help, and the solution actually worked. Oh, we got a TikTok. Let's see.
These are the cheapest seat covers I could find, coming in at $9 from Walmart. And these are the most expensive seat.
This is not what I asked for. I don't want related videos. I'm not going to dig through your TikTok to find the thing. All right. No video. His fault. Okay. So, one such case involves a young driver experiencing alignment issues with a 6.7 liter Power Stroke truck. His steering wheel was turned about 90 degrees too far to the right. Thought an auto mechanic would likely charge him hundreds of dollars to fix the extensive alignment issues, so he decided to hit up his old friend, ChatGPT, to see if this was an easy DIY he could do at home. ChatGPT gave him general directions that did not disappoint. The initial solution was a bit broad, so he asked the AI to explain step 5 further, and it gave him more step-by-step instructions that he put to the test. Got under his truck, identified the parts ChatGPT was talking about, made the necessary adjustments, fixed the problem. ChatGPT has been pre-trained on an extensive data set that includes a wide range of information, including automotive maintenance and repair. The vast knowledge base allows it to provide well-informed responses to specific queries. And does do the thing. AI is not always accurate in its answers. This guy likely just got lucky that ChatGPT gave him the solution he needed. Or you could learn to use the thing as we teach you. And our good friend Matt Wolf and David Shapiro also teach you. And by good friend, I mean people who don't know I exist, but I pretend that they do. Artists sign open letters saying generative AI is good, actually. The full letter and list of signatories is here. And this is from on Creative Commons. Quite an no, not quite an extensive letter. Shorter than I thought. 26 years ago this month, celebrated electronic musician Bjork, friend of the show because you give a view when you watch on stream. Hey, and I recommend that people go follow them. I do my due diligence, right? And I appreciate what they do. And they move themselves over to accommodate my picture. Don't hate. Don't hate. If you want a movie, don't hate. You're supposed to support your streamer. Without question. Follow me. To Senator Schumer and members of the U.S. Congress. 26 years ago this month, celebrated electronic musician Bjork released her third album, saying, "I find it so amazing when people tell me that electronic music has no soul. You can't blame the computer. If there's no soul in the music, it's because nobody put it there. We write this letter today as professional artists using generative AI tools to help us put soul in our work. Our creative process with AI tools stretch back for years, or in the case of simpler AI tools, such as musical production software, for decades. Many of us are artists who have dedicated our lives to studying in traditional mediums while dreaming of generative AI's capabilities. For others, generative AI is making art more accessible or allowing them to pioneer entirely new artistic mediums. Just like previous innovations, these tools lower barriers in creating art, a career that has been traditionally limited to those with considerable financial means, able bodies, and the right social connections. Unfortunately, this diverse pioneering work of individual human artists is being misrepresented. Some say it's about merely typing in prompts or regurgitating existing works. I want to tear up. Others deride our methods and our art as based on stealing and data theft. While generative AI can be used to exploitatively replicate existing works, such uses do not interest us. Our art is our art is grounded in ingenuity and creating new art. It is well known that all artists build not only on the previous ideas, genres, and concepts that came before, but also on the culture in which they create. Unfortunately, many individual artists are afraid of backlash if they so much as touch these important new tools. Anti-AI artists are aggressive. We are speaking out today to advocate for a future of richer and more accessible creative innovation for generations of artists to come. Artists breathe life into AI, directing its innovation toward positive cultural evolution while expanding the essential human dimensions it inherently lacks. Senator Schumer and member, you can't call it art unless it's charcoal and like you gotta do the hand thing. Everything else is derivative. Senator Schumer and members of Congress, we appreciate the ongoing hearings, insight forums, and other initiatives focused on regulating generative AI systems, and that your goal is to be inclusive, pulling from a range of scientists, advocates, and community leaders who are actively engaged with the field. Ultimately, that must mean including artists like us. We use AI tools daily and will provide an important perspective to this increasingly pressing discussion. We see a unique opportunity in this moment to shape generative AI's development responsibly. The broad concerns around human artistic labor being voiced today cannot be ignored. All too often, major corporations and other powerful entities use technology in ways that exploit artist labor and undermine our ability to make a living. If you seek to ensure generative AI's revolutionary trajectory benefits humanity as a whole, it would be a gross oversight to exclude those in our society who are working within its potential and its limitations. For us, generative AI tools are empowering and expressive. We use them not to duplicate others, but rather to make transformative new works and experiences. We are keenly aware of many real issues and impacts with these technologies, as well as with efforts to regulate them. And it is precisely because we use these technologies that our viewpoint is so urgent at this time. I follow Databots on Twitter, and it is awesome to see them as number 2 on this list. See if there's anyone else that I actually recognize. Okay. I might recognize this name, but I might be confusing it with someone else. And this is a Twitter name because it's got the .f in there. But yeah. It's nice to see someone, challenging the existing narrative, as your boy does on the daily. Generative AI expected to replace 2+ million jobs in U.S. jobs by 2030, those with higher education and wages more at risk. There's a new forecast. Forrester's 2023 Generative AI Jobs Impact offers a similar conclusion to IBM's recent study. AI is going to cost many people their jobs. It will augment more roles than replace them. As it currently exists, yes. Beyond that, you are going to, experience more job loss. Like, can we look at this? Percentage of total U.S. jobs lost to AI and automation. So this is percentage of total jobs. Base 2022. By 2030, 1.5%. And 3.4% to non-generative AI and automation. In the proportion of total job losses that can be attributed to generative AI, 30.4%. It's serious business. Another finding is that more education a worker has, the higher the influence generative AI will have on their job. Occupations with lower educational requirements, like transportation, warehousing, construction, agriculture, and manufacturing, will see less job influence. So this has to be related to specific types of AI. So yeah, ChatGPT is not going to be good at driving a truck, but there is definitely automation coming for the truck. And I think that is part of where these numbers end up being so low, in my opinion. Because if you're looking at this ChatGPT is not going to drive the truck, right? Your banjo playing job is safe because ChatGPT can't play a banjo, but we exist in a spectrum of automation that's happening, not just one particular type. All right, we got 5 minutes and 3 articles. Let's see what we can do. iOS 7, any Apple folks in the audience? iOS 7 lets you clone your voice with AI. Here's how. I don't care because I don't have an Apple phone, but I'll put it in the Discord. Boom, easy. What else we got? Prompt engineering embraces Tree of Thoughts as latest new technique to solve generative AI toughest problem. That's our boy AI Explained, has been talking about the Tree of Thought and in that aspect of it. So it's good to see that Forbes and whoever Forbes is reporting on, Dr. Lance Elliott, caught up to that. Good for him. What else we got? And then we got a review of The Coming Wave. Book link warning. Background. Modern Turing test, make $1 million on Amazon. Problem is the same technologies that allow us to cure disease could be used to cause one. Technology is dual use. Human mutants, however, are not the only horrors that await us. Okay. It's not about the existential threat posed by superintelligent AI. Suleiman thinks that merely smart AIs will wreak havoc. This is definitely one way to, will as opposed to can. And this is one of the flaws that I found in the book, right? Talking about the idea of bad actors. If you have a crime, you have underlying reasons for that crime. And his approach throughout the course of the book is to look at the symptoms rather than the disease, right? The idea that, if there's a bad actor, we need to see why that person is a bad actor and address the conditions that make people bad actors. Right? And the bad actors are always people who, disagree. And he specifically brings up Hezbollah. I'm not going to advocate for Hezbollah. I'm just they do not exist in a vacuum. They exist because of material conditions. And those material conditions can be addressed. If you resolve the material conditions, then you will have less of an issue and less bad actors. He repeatedly tells us that the wave is coming, the coming wave is coming, and even the coming wave really is coming. I suppose living through the past 15 years of AI research and becoming a multimillionaire in the process would turn anyone into a believer. But if the past is anything to go by, AI is also known for its winters. There's an AI winter. When initial promise stalled and funding dried up for long periods. Suleiman disregards the real possibility that this will happen again. And, we've gone over that. Dave Shapiro has a great video on that. Thereby giving us more time to adapt to and even tend the tide of social change. No, we really need more social change. This is part of the thing. But even if progress continues at its frenetic pace, it is unlikely that societies will tolerate the ethical abuses Suleiman fears most. When a Chinese scientist revealed universally condemned, the EU is set to prohibit certain forms of AI, such as facial recognition in public spaces, in its forthcoming AI Act. Normal legal and cultural pushback will probably slow the proliferation of the most disruptive and disturbing practice. Okay, well, then you go with that. because it's easy to say stuff like that, and then like, because there's another thing. It's like, you know, Mr. Suleiman talks about the surveillance state that exists in China doesn't address the surveillance state that exists in, for instance, the United Kingdom, right? And the EU is set to prohibit certain forms of AI, such as facial recognition, from public spaces. That's great. I would like to see if you stand by that, which I think you should, but I would like to see if you stand by that when there is some sort of terrorist attack. Because in the United States, we turned around and did the Patriot Act. So at times of crisis, government entities tend to get more draconian, not less, and not resolve the underlying conditions and not address, you know, why such a thing could happen. Just go and bomb something. Suggested AI companies spend 20% of R&D funds on safety research, but does not say why companies would divert capital away from rushing their new products to market. Agreed. He advocates banning AI in political ads, but doing so would violate the First Amendment to the U.S. Constitution. True. He proposes an international anti-proliferation treaty, but does not give us any indication of how that might be enforced. This is what I was talking about. Like, it does have a lot of questions rather than answers. Like, this would be really cool if this happened, right? At one point, Suleiman hints that the U.S. may need to coerce other countries to comply. Some measures of anti-proliferation is necessary. And yes, let's not shy away from the fact that means real censorship, possibly beyond national borders. I don't know exactly what he means here, but I don't like the way it sounds. I can convert this book to your voice, but it will be $177.41 at the cheapest. That's not worth it. When you can spend the $15 to get it on Audible, it's, yeah. That is, yeah, that's a vanity project, and no. No. You're like, I saw nothing. Here's a piece of ignorance. If the book's predictions about AI are so accurate, we can safely ignore its proposals. Wait a few years and we can just ask ChatGPT 5, 6, or 7 how to handle the coming wave. I see nothing. All right, I think we're done, right? Yeah, we're done. We're done. If you want to look at the articles in full, they will, of course, be available in the Discord sometime after stream. Of course, not right away because it's movie night and the feeling's right. Okay, on Wednesday, I was trying to find a Matt Wolf video that I thought we hadn't seen. It was this one. This was the one that we hadn't seen. So we're going to get into the video. We got 2 hours. Let's rock.
Believe it or not, the past week saw an insane amount of AI news, and I want to try to break it all down for you, so let's just jump straight into it. At the end of last week, Elon Musk did a 45-minute live stream on X of his fully self-driving V12 beta software showing full AI driving in the Tesla. During the live stream, Elon talked about how it's using all of the cameras around the car plus AI to do all of the driving, and it can actually work without an internet connection. It does not need to be connected. All of the actual information is stored in the car's computer. For the most part, the drive went pretty smoothly. It navigated traffic cones, it navigated roundabouts, it obeyed stop signs, obeyed stop lights. There was one slight hiccup in the drive.
Basically rush hour. Oh, intervention, sorry. Okay, so that's our first intervention.
The car almost ran a red light because it saw the green turn signal, but after their intervention, that didn't actually happen again for the rest of the drive. And he also talked about how every time an intervention like that happens,
And like, okay, so of course, a lot of people made a big deal out of that because it's Elon Musk, and dunking on Elon Musk is a national pastime at this point. But yeah, it is. If you relax and you look at it, then you can see that that was one minor error. Now yes, it had to continue to go through, then that could have been a problem. But you know how many people that I see blow through red lights because the turn signal goes green and the car next to them starts moving? They're not actually watching the thing. Just like, spare me from your rationalizations about how the AI can't fully drive the car because it's not perfect. That's all I'm asking.
the car actually gets smarter and learns from its mistakes. So it's constantly improving and getting better. Speaking of Tesla, they unveiled a $300 million supercomputer. The supercomputer is designed to accelerate the training on Tesla's self-driving AI, and it contains over 10,000 NVIDIA H100 GPUs.
That didn't take him long at all. That did not take him long at all. What is that, like a month for him to put this whole thing together?
Making it one of the fastest supercomputers in the entire world. Remember last month when we talked about Sarah Silverman and other authors suing OpenAI for training on their books? Well, this week, OpenAI responded. OpenAI claimed that the authors misconceived the scope of copyright, failing to take into account the limitations and exceptions, including fair use, that properly leave room for innovations like the large language models now at the forefront of artificial intelligence. According to OpenAI, even if the author's books were a tiny part of ChatGPT's massive data set, the use of copyright materials by innovators in transformative ways does not violate copyright. Unlike plagiarists who seek to directly profit off of distributing copyrighted materials, OpenAI argued that its goal was to teach its models to derive the rules underlying human language. So basically, OpenAI is arguing that they are actually protected in this case under fair use, and that the work is transformative and really only being used to train the models, not regurgitate exactly what's in the content of these books.
Which is, the second part of that is accurate. The first part, I believe, again, nothing has changed. I still think that this is going to come down to some negotiated settlement before it gets all the way out, but like, I'm not perfect. I could be wrong.
Speaking of copyright, the US Copyright Office actually wants to hear from you about AI and copyright. The agency wants to try to get answers to three main questions: how AI models should use copyrighted data in training, whether AI generated material can be copyrighted even without a human involved, and how copyright liability would work with AI. Here's the actual document from the Copyright Office with their notice of inquiry and request for comments. If you want to submit your own comments about your thoughts on copyright and AI, you can go to copyright.gov/policy/artificial intelligence, click on the comment.
Man, I hate Chatterino.
Comment submission button. There's some instructions on what you need to do here. They are allowing individual commenters and organizations to leave comments.
The rare moment when I beat Old Lobster to get in the link in chat.
Go ahead and click on the button at the bottom, and here is a page where you can submit your comments and attach any additional details. Speaking of worries around AI, this week a survey found that relatively few Americans actually use or fear ChatGPT. People like you and me who watch videos like this, we tend to be in a little bit of a tech bubble where we see AI everywhere and we're constantly thinking about AI. But according to a poll from Pew Research, only about 18% of Americans have ever actually used ChatGPT.
So, and that's up from like, it was 14% 3 months ago, and now it's 18%. I don't know what to do. Like, I really don't. I want to, like, it's political season. I want to put out a sign like, have you used an AI today? Do you understand what's happening? You don't.
And those that do use it, most people use it for entertainment or to learn something. Only 19% of employed people who'd heard of the model thought it would affect their job in a major way, and 27% of the people polled expect no impact whatsoever. And what was even more interesting is only about 15% of people thought it would actually be helpful. However, in a different poll from Pew Research, 47%, up from 31% last year, said that AI actually makes them more concerned than excited. But do you know who is trying to be helpful with their AI? ChatGPT themselves. They're trying to help teachers better use ChatGPT.
And it's like, then you want an America in a nutshell. 18% of people have used the thing, but 47% of people think it's going to be a problem. Like, learn nothing, have nothing but opinions, go nuts.
GPT in the classroom. They put out a blog post saying, here's how teachers are using ChatGPT. Things like role-playing challenging conversations, building quizzes, tests, and lesson plans for curriculum materials, reducing friction for non-English speakers, and teaching students about critical thinking. And they even give example prompts to get educators started in better using ChatGPT in the classroom. Speaking of ChatGPT and OpenAI, a few weeks ago we talked about how
And literally, if you are within the sound of my voice and you don't know how something like Claude 2, ChatGPT, Bard, any of these things can assist you, you can ask them. You can literally have a conversation. Say please, say thank you. You want a fun example? Was playing Baldur's Gate 3, and I used ChatGPT to help me name my characters. Right? Just like, I have a Drow rogue, and I'm trying to get something, like a translation of Whispering Death. Right? Because he's going to be like a thief assassin type dude. Okay? Put that in there, and it translated it out for me and gave me the thing. And please and thank yous. I put the please and thank yous in there. Right? What up, Big Lou? Elder Gang. I named another character, was like elf, dragon blood, a high elf with dragon blood, sorcerer, and it gave me a name for them. Like, use it for literally whatever, and the more you use it, the more you will find reasons to use it. But then, like, I wanted to make they had a good price on zucchini. My wife likes to spiralize zucchini, like spaghetti type action. I asked it for a recipe for that. Right? Like, just making it part of your everyday as a go-to, not even necessarily to like solve your problems, but just having someone else to bounce stuff off of. Right? Throw me an idea. Help me out with this. Have a conversation with it. And that's the thing. Like today, because zucchini, Ratatouille from like in the movie, the Ratatouille, right? Like, so I'm looking. I want a recipe for Ratatouille. Go online and find a recipe for Ratatouille and look at you get to read through the story about how they got this recipe from their mother who grew up in the Tuscan countryside and like that. And that's, I understand why that is, but like yesterday was another Japanese curry roux, and then I said, give me a recipe for the curry using that roux, and it did. Yeah. Like, the guy, we looked at the article earlier where the guy used it to help him fix the alignment on the truck. Right? You do have to know what you're doing. Start off in areas that you're comfortable where you can like fact check what it's telling you, especially if you're doing something like fixing a truck. But if this is an area that you're comfortable in, you'll know when it makes an error. And and the thing is, unlike human beings, if you say that doesn't sound right, then it will go, oh, okay, I could be wrong. My very first commercial type prompt was as a mechanic assistant. Old Lobster is like the shining example of using the AI to their benefit.
OpenAI could possibly go bankrupt by 2024 because the company is spending $700,000 a day. However, OpenAI this week seems to be turning a corner. They introduced ChatGPT Enterprise version, and if you sign up for the Enterprise version, you get the most powerful version of GPT-4 yet. You get unlimited access to GPT.
And I saw another article about how the amount of people using ChatGPT is trending down. But again, it's only people going directly to ChatGPT, none of the APIs, none of the other stuff. There's just like look at this. Free credits to use our API if you need to extend OpenAI to a fully custom solution for your org. Like, the stuff, the I feel like anti-AI stuff is a little strong, but the stuff the articles that question the efficacy and the future of AI, like, blatantly cherry pick the data that they want to express.
4, so no usage caps. You get up to 2 times faster speeds, unlimited access to advanced data analysis, formerly known as Code Interpreter. I'm learning right now as reading this that they're rebranding Code Interpreter to Advanced Data Analysis. You get the 32,000 token context window, so you can get up to 4 times longer inputs, files, and follow-ups. You get shareable chat templates for your company to collaborate and build common workflows, and you get free credits to use their APIs if you need to extend OpenAI into a fully custom solution for your organization. Now, if you check out openai.com/enterprise, you can learn more. However, the enterprise plan doesn't have a price tag on it. You've got to contact sales to learn more about how much it costs. And seemingly, companies are signing up because OpenAI has been shattering revenue expectations, and they're predicted to now generate over $1 billion this year. So that calculation where they might be going bankrupt by 2024 probably needs to be rethought a little bit. Enterprise customers include companies like Zoom, Stripe, Notion, and Databricks. This article talks about how the trend is increasing toward customized AI assistants for enterprises that can use them. However, despite OpenAI having revenue that's way better than expected, it seems like every other company out there is coming for them. For example, this article here stirred up some controversy this week when it said that Google Gemini eats the world. Gemini smashes GPT-4 by 5 times. The article argues that most other AI companies are training on GPUs and are super reliant on companies like NVIDIA. However, Google and DeepMind have TPUs. And a quick search for TPU versus GPU. TPUs are designed specifically for tensor operations, resulting in faster training and inference times for neural networks compared to GPUs. TPUs are also more power efficient than GPUs, making them a better choice for large-scale machine learning deployment. Because Google has so many of these TPUs at their disposal, and they're using those to train Google Gemini, Gemini will supposedly be 5 times more advanced than what we're seeing from GPT-4 right now. But Gemini isn't the only one out there trying to eat OpenAI's lunch right now. 2 new similar chatbots just launched in China. The Ernie chatbot was just approved by the Chinese government this week, which is actually available in the US. However, it's only in Chinese. They also opened up a plugin marketplace for the Ernie bot similar to ChatGPT plugins. Now, because I don't know or speak Chinese, I haven't actually been able to play with this one myself. The second one that came out this week in China was released by Alibaba, and this model was called QuenVL and QuenVL Chat. I have no idea if I'm pronouncing those right, so I apologize if I'm not. What's different about this model is this model actually reads images rather than text. So it can do things like providing directions by scanning street signs, solving math equations based on a photo, and weaving together a narrative based on multiple pictures, which are all actually things that in the past have been promised by tools like GPT-4 and Google's various models. Yet we haven't seen any real great implementations of that in practice with any of the tools that we have available to us today. And of course, as we all know, Meta's also coming after OpenAI. Now, this one's just rumor right now, but supposedly they're working on a Llama 3, which will be about as powerful as GPT-4. This comes from a tweet or X or whatever, overheard at a Meta Gen AI social. We have compute to train Llama 3 and 4. The plan is for Llama 3 to be as good as GPT-4. Wow, if Llama 3 is as good as GPT-4, will you guys still open source it? Yeah, we will. Sorry, alignment people. So again, not much to go off of other than a hearsay post on X. But if we can have models as powerful as GPT-4 and they're open source, meaning anybody can iterate, build off of them, run them, build services around them in the cloud, or you'll be able to download them and run them locally, well, that could spell some extra trouble for companies like OpenAI, who rely on the revenue of things like ChatGPT Plus, ChatGPT Enterprise.
I like Zit. We'll go with Zit.
And selling API access.
What up, Paradigm? You gotta love having to watch an ad everywhere I go on the internet. Well, you only have to watch an ad at the beginning because I don't run any ads after the pre-roll because I have that privilege.
Access. Also this week, Google held a big conference called Google Cloud Next. This is an event where Google tends to make a bunch of announcements about a lot of their latest cloud features. And to be honest, most of the event was super technical, over my head, but there was some really, really cool stuff that they broke down. And I made an 18-minute supercut and posted it on my X account if you want to watch the entire hour-and-a-half presentation in less than 18.5 minutes. Here are the things that I think you'll probably find most interesting. They announced a partnership between NVIDIA and Google Cloud, and they even brought CEO of NVIDIA up on stage, Jensen Huang, to talk about the partnership and how NVIDIA's DGX is going to be added into Google's cloud services. They also announced a new way that they're going to start digitally watermarking images that were generated with AI to help, prevent misinformation and things like that. And they're not doing it in traditional ways like through metadata or anything like that.
There are some challenges with digital watermarking today. The first challenge is that if they're metadata based, they can be modified relatively easily. If they're pixel based, what happens is that the images don't look really well. That is not true for our new digital watermarking capability that we're announcing today. I can do a single click here in Generative AI Studio, and I'm going to go ahead and generate watermarked versions of each of these images. And now you see the digital watermark is stamped on every one of these images, so we know that the fidelity and the integrity of our data is intact.
But I felt like the real coolest stuff was when they started talking about announcements around Duet AI and how it's now available inside of Google Workspace.
Today, we're pleased to announce that Duet AI in Google Workspace is now generally available to everyone.
Every time you use Gmail, Drive, Docs, Meet, Chat, Calendar in your daily life, you're using Workspace.
Okay, so we'll begin right here in Drive, where I'll select a prior brief as a starting point. How about this one?
And from here, I will just open the Duet sidebar. And I can already see a suggestion to use the selected file as a template. So I'll go ahead and click that suggestion, use as template. Now, Duet just needs to know what kind of document we're trying to create. In this case, it's for a new line of pet toys called Project EcoPaws Brief. Okay, now in the background, Duet is looking across my drive, finding all the relevant information about Project EcoPaws and combining it with the template we just selected to create this brand new presentation that's been generated right before us. And I can even see it is found and referenced sources across my drive. There's a Google Doc, there's a Google Sheet. Why don't we go ahead and click it, see what we got back, and
That's
there it is.
amazing. Even brought in charts from the right Google Sheet.
I know we want to market these toys to Gen Z, so we're going to go ahead and have Duet help us with that. I'll start by clicking this Add a Slide suggestion, and then we'll just ask Duet to identify trends to incorporate in the brief for Gen Z by typing Gen Z consumer trends. And now we're using our Palm 2 model and all of its base knowledge about Gen Z, plus the contents of this generated deck to put together this brand new generated slide, Understanding Gen Z. I'll go ahead and just click Insert. And now we've got a great point from which we can continue to refine. Aparna, how about that?
We've all presented in meetings and know how overwhelming it can be. Duet's got you covered. First, you can present with confidence with our brand new real-time teleprompter in Google Meet. It follows your voice as you read your speaker notes, and our real-time speech recognition system keeps up with you even if you jump ahead or reword notes on the fly.
That's pretty wild. Like, I mean, it's the difference between pushing a button and not pushing a button, but the fact that it can recognize your voice and pay attention to where it is in the process, that's pretty cool.
For notes, Duet is automatically capturing notes, action items, and video snippets to share with all the attendees.
And this, I think, is what's going to drive it into more people using it in a business aspect. The fact that it will also take notes, the fact that it will transcribe things as they are happening, that is going to be an impressive functionality.
At the end of the call,
With Duet, Meet can automatically detect and translate over 300 language pairs, providing real-time captions for the viewers. Say you join the meeting late, and let's be honest, who doesn't join meeting late occasionally? Duet provides an interactive catch-me-up mode, complete with a summary of everything you've missed before joining the meeting. You can even ask it follow-up questions like, let's see here, what's been said about Gen Z? And in just a second, I'm feeling fully caught up on everything that I missed.
So basically, Duet connects all of the tools that you have inside of your Google Workspace, like Calendar, Slides, Sheets, Docs, all of that stuff, makes it all searchable, all chattable. And when you're making a slide presentation, you can pull data from your Google Sheets. When you're making a Google Sheet spreadsheet, you can pull information from Docs, and everything just sort of connects through this chat. And of course, there's also the new features inside of Google Meet where it will automatically take notes. It will transcribe subtitles so that you can speak with anybody in any language and have it transcribed for you while you're on the conversation. You can have it catch you up on what you might have missed when you join a meeting late. So lots of cool stuff. Now, the presentation went on to show off a whole bunch of AI features for coders and developers who want to use a lot of their new suite of tools. And again, if you want to watch the full 18-minute breakdown where I show you all of the announcements, I'll make sure the link to my X post is below in the description. I also recently made a video where I was experimenting with Google's new AI search features. Well, this week they also announced that those features are now available in India and Japan. So great news for those countries. Also, in my recent live stream, I played around with Ideogram, which at the moment is a completely free AI image generation tool that can actually generate really good, decent text inside of images. So as a real quick example, I can do a penguin holding a sign that says, subscribe to Matt Wolf. Click generate, and usually at least one of the pictures comes out pretty decent. And there you go. Look at this one. Subscribe to Matt Wolf. Here's another one.
Okay, so this is not good, but that first one,
Subscribe Matt to Wolf. It's not 100% all that.
subscribe to Matt Wolf. This is like not that long ago, a couple months ago, AI couldn't handle words at all. And it's getting significantly better. Like, obviously, there's still errors. We still have a ways to go. There's whatever the hell is going on in this picture here. But this one right here, that's ready to use, right? If this is your vibe, that's ready to use. You could just drop that somewhere. There are some other ones that can be used to in-paint words directly within the thing. And again, his future tools, you go futuretools.io, and you can sort by free, you can sort by exactly what you're looking for. I really like the way he's got the site put together. It's very easy to use, very easy to find what you might want to use.
All the time, but if you look through some of the examples, look at this. Do you want negative prompting? Be happy, be creative. Smart up, just do it. Let's code. Maybe it doesn't get it perfectly right on the first generation, but it does do text and it does it pretty dang well. The reason I'm bringing that up is it's now available to everyone for free. When I talked about it in last Friday's news video, you had to join a wait list. Now, anybody's in and it's totally free. Get in and play around with it and see what you can make it do. It's really cool. As I learn more about it, I'll probably
As with a lot of these free things, they are free. You're basically participating in a beta, okay? Understand that. There will be an amount of time at which it is no longer free, or where it has a free tier and then a couple paid tiers. So if this kind of thing interests you, move quickly, start taking advantage of it, because you never know when it's going to become some kind of paid service.
make a video in the near future about best practices and cool tricks that I learned while using it. If you're a Substack user, Substack just announced a new feature for audio transcription tools. So if you actually publish an audio podcast on Substack, they now use AI to automatically transcribe your podcast into a written blog post for you. A few months ago, Meta announced their Dino V2 state-of-the-art computer vision models, which does a really good job of tracking objects inside of videos. Well, this week they announced that they're actually open sourcing Dino V2. Meta seems to be going down this path of pretty much open sourcing all of their research that they feel comfortable getting into the public's hand, which is pretty cool in my opinion, because it allows anyone to sort of build off of it and improve upon it. They also introduced a new model called Facet, which stands for Fairness and Computer Vision Evaluation. The computer vision model helps classify additional details inside of images, things like perceived gender, perceived skin tone, age group, hair color, lighting conditions, and more. And this was trained by using actual humans who looked through 32,000 different images, and actual humans annotated the images with demographic attributes to help train the model so that the model could then...
Okay, so this could be some of that, better data sets that I've been talking about, right? Like, if this is what it appears to be, then that would be great.
Then in the future, figure out those same attributes for future images and videos. So it's trying to eliminate some of the biases. Most image generators and video generators are going to tend to bias skateboarders as males. Well, this is a female skateboarder, and the perceived gender is more femaleness. So basically it's a tool to help better change some of those biases in the data set. There seems to be a big trend lately of announcements around AI and food. This week, Samsung launched its AI-powered recipe app called Food. It's an artificial intelligence that provides you...
So in the book, in the Coming Wave, he talks about Samsung, the origins of the company. It was a noodle shop. Samsung started as a noodle shop, and so now it's come full circle with a food app.
Users with personalized recipes and food recommendations. They launched it in 8 languages and 104 countries. It has 160,000 recipes, and it was designed to be a personalized assistant that helps users discover new dishes, create
My past 3 phones have been Samsung. My watch is Samsung. I'm disappointed in the current phone, but
tailored meal plans, and order ingredients online. Also this week, DoorDash announced that they're developing AI-powered voice ordering for restaurants. It's designed for an AI-powered system to help restaurants take orders over the phone without any dedicated merchant manpower. Customers will have personalized voice ordering experience in multiple languages with no missed calls or long wait times. Returning customers will be able to quickly reorder their favorite meal, and live agents will be available to jump in to support customers at any time. So I imagine when you call your favorite restaurant in the near future, it will be a robot that answers, you place your order with the robot, and if you've ordered there before, the robot already knows your preferred order. I mean, honestly, I'd almost prefer it that way. Also this week, Uber Eats is reportedly developing an AI chatbot that will offer recommendations and speed up ordering. It's building a chatbot that will ask users about their budget, food preferences, and then help them place an order. Now here's some fun stuff that people can go and play with right now. One of my favorite tools to play with.
So, of course, the current issues with Uber Eats, DoorDash, those kind of things, and you know their failure to pay their workers adequately and provide them with additional things like healthcare and everything else. These, that's a problem. That's still a problem. I don't know that there are any people who do the Uber Eats delivery or, DoorDash delivery who want you to not use it. There are some people, especially the restaurants, if they have their own delivery service, you can order from them directly, and that driver may or may not receive a more fair compensation. That restaurant probably pays less because they don't have to share anything with Uber Eats, DoorDash, what have you. It's complex. I don't do any of that stuff. I'm a pickup kind of person. We don't have very much in the way of delivery out here, so it's just that kind of thing. And really, realistically, I don't order out that often either. Most of the time it's Chinese. Occasionally it's from the pizza place. Both those places I have to go pick it up. So, proceed as you see fit. Try and do some research. Make good choices.
With is Blockade Labs, where you can create these 360 landscapes with just a prompt. They've added some new features recently. For example, they added the enhanced prompt feature, where when you enter a basic prompt, it adds more detail to the prompt for you. They also added a whole bunch of new models that you can play with, like Epic Digital Painting, Radiant, Enchanted, 1960s Ethereal Fantasy, Psychedelic Illustration, Whimsical World, and a bunch more. Just for fun, let's try Psychedelic Illustration, a colorful world made of candy. We'll leave our enhanced prompt on and click generate, and you'll see that it actually built out the prompt even more. VR 360 vision of vibrant candy cosmos swirled lollipops as planetary bodies, shimmering sugar dust galaxies, rainbow gummy asteroid belts, cotton candy nebula developing in a surrealistic candy art style. And that's what this generated. And if I use that same prompt with whimsical world, I get something that looks like this. Pretty whimsical. I just love Blockade Labs. Wanted to show that off. Also this week, Runway ML launched a few new features. The first one is if you go to generate videos and do a text or image to video, there's actually now a motion level. So you can set the motion level from 0 all the way up to 10, and the higher the number, the more motion will show up in your video. So just for fun, let's grab this random image from my hard drive here, and I'll pull this in. We'll pull the motion all the way up to 10 and click generate. And here's the video we got out of it, which has just absolutely tons of motion in it. Now, if I bring the motion scale down to, let's just say 3 and click generate, and here's the video we get from that, where you can see that there is motion, the clouds are moving, but everything's just a little bit more subtle. So you can now have that control between subtle motion and crazy rapid motion when you generate videos with Runway Gen 2. Now, the other feature they rolled out, I'm not even sure they made an announcement about it. I was just kind of clicking it around, and I noticed that there was this option for 3D here. And if you click into 3D, they actually have a 3D capture option and a 3D texture option, and the 3D capture option looks like you can now do nerfs directly inside of Runway. So the way this would work would be you take a video with your phone of an object that you want to turn into a 3D object, and you sort of walk around that object with your phone, and you shoot a video from 1 minute to 3 minutes of that object from different angles and different perspectives. You upload them into Runway ML, and it will turn that into a 3D object for you. For example, here's a camera that somebody uploaded, and you can actually move around the camera in 3D. Now, every time you move around it, it kind of takes a second to re-render from the new angle, but then you have a little editor here where you can change the camera path, the depth of field, the focal length, and then set keyframes to actually generate an animation of the object here. This isn't something that I've spent a lot of time playing around with. It's something that I literally just came across today as I was exploring the new motion feature inside of Runway. So I imagine this is something that they'll be announcing and talking about more, but I'm excited to play with it because I love playing around with nerfs. And finally, to wrap up the AI news for this week, an AI-powered drone actually beat a human champion pilot. Now, we've had AIs beat people in games like Go and chess, but in this case, we've actually seen an AI take control of a drone and race a human, and the drone actually won. And this is not speed up footage. This is how quickly these things actually move. And that wasn't something where it was like pre-trained. It didn't know the path that it was going to fly. It was using onboard sensors to know where to go next and then fly through the path that it was supposed to fly through. So I thought that was pretty cool, and I really love drones, so I wanted to share that with you. And to wrap up, if you've made it this far and maybe you watched my video about my studio tour, you can see that the overhaul of my studio has begun. I painted my wall behind me. I got rid of the old dresser that was behind me and actually got a cabinet that is designed for being an office storage type cabinet. And with each video that I post, you're probably going to see a little bit more get built out in my background. And right
You remember I asked what happened to all this stuff.
now, in our Future Tools Discord, we're running a competition. I'm actually looking for a Matt Wolf logo because I want to make a sign of whatever the competition winner is and put it as a lit up like neon sign behind me on my wall. So there's some awesome entries that are coming in right now, but if you're not inside the Discord, definitely jump in, check out the announcement section where we talk about our competitions that we're doing for AI art, because the one we're running right now is for a Matt Wolf brand logo. And if you win that competition, not only is there cash prizes, but whatever logo you generate will be in the background of my videos for the future. So hopefully you
So if you got it like that, if you got time, you want to use the AI things, you want to join his Discord, you know, you could represent the community. I have extra children in my house, so my time is limited. But I'm gonna take I'm gonna take a swing at it if I can. See what kind of time there is there. All right. Next up, AI explained.
In the last 48 hours, there have been a flurry of articles and interviews revealing key details about.
And this is from yesterday. So really recent hot news coming right at you.
Our march to artificial general intelligence. I'm going to extract out the most interesting parts and link them to a series.
I always used to laugh about putting my kids to work grinding gold, and wow, you could teach them AI and get some cheap graphics designers. I can't get my son to care about AI. I have tried. But he started an intro to IT course, so maybe over time that could happen. And like that.
series of other recent developments. And if there's one theme, it's that the AGI these companies are creating is not just a clever chatbot and is coming much sooner than you might think. If AGI is a lot more than just a clever personal assistant, what actually is it? Well, let's turn to this bombshell article in Wired. They say OpenAI doesn't claim to know what AGI really is. The determination would come from the board, but it's not clear how the board would define it. Sam Altman, who is on the board of OpenAI, said, "I would happily tell you, but I like to keep confidential conversations private." And then said, "But we don't know what it's going to be like at that point." Not being able to define AGI continues on their website, where they first say that AGI is AI systems that are generally smarter than humans. But elsewhere, they say their definition of AGI is highly autonomous systems that outperform humans at most economically valuable work. And back to the just released article, it seems that confusion continues with Microsoft. It says Microsoft wasn't even bothered by the clause that demands reconsideration if OpenAI achieves AGI, whatever that is. At that point, says Nadella, the CEO of Microsoft, all bets are off. It might be the last invention of humanity, he notes, so we might have bigger issues to consider once machines are smarter than we are. OpenAI even have a legal disclaimer that says you as an investor stand to lose all of your money. We are not here to make your return. We're here to achieve a
See, like, I know, baby, like your boys are romantic, it's not a secret. It's just like, I see stuff and it's like, that could mean one thing or that could mean something else, and, ooh.
technical mission. Oh, and by the way, we don't really know what role money will play in a post-AGI world. In their restructuring documents, they have a clause to the effect that if the company does manage to create AGI, all financial arrangements will be reconsidered. But not clearly defining AGI seems to play into the hands of Microsoft, who can always say, well, we haven't reached it yet. I don't think Microsoft is going to lightly allow all of their trillion-dollar financial arrangements to be reconsidered. And again, we have this. The company's financial documents stipulate a kind of exit contingency for when AI wipes away our whole economic system. But then apparently the company's leadership says this. It would be hard, they say, to work at OpenAI if the individual didn't believe that AGI was truly coming. And furthermore, that its arrival would mark one of the greatest moments in human history. Why would a non-believer want to work here, they wondered. 3 more quick insights from Wired before we move on. First, that Sam Altman was planning to run for governor of California before he planned to build AGI. Second, that in a 2015 interview with the same journalist at Wired, Sam Altman was a bit more clear about what he thought the job impacts of AGI would be. He predicted the challenge of massive automation and job elimination that's going to happen. This chimes in with a quote from the new book, The Coming Wave, that I got early access to, written by Mustafa Suleiman, the head of another AGI lab. He said, "These tools are only temporarily augmenting human intelligence, but they are fundamentally labor replacing." And finally from Wired was this quote that I found really interesting. Sam Altman's original vision was not to make a single entity that is 1,000,000 times more powerful than any human. He wanted lots of little AIs, not one super intelligent AI. But Sam Altman is now talking about making a super intelligence within the next 10 years that's as productive as one of today's largest corporations, which, don't forget, have millions of human employees.
And that, Mustafa Suleiman, we talked about this when he said it, the idea of what he refers to as the modern Turing test is you have, and he created another term, artificial competent intelligence, wherein that if it, given a $100,000 investment, was able to create a business that generated $1 million in revenue, then he would consider that like passing that modern Turing test. So, like, to give you a reference point at how they consider that kind of thing. So like when you see these however many YouTube videos of how to, create $1 million business, that is one of the benchmarks that Suleiman is working off of. And as featured in the Max Tegmark book, Life 3.0, using, having a artificial intelligent agent who was using the Mechanical Turk through AWS, and that was part of the process of becoming financially independent, so that group in that story could build their AGI or release their AGI because they had already built it.
This fits in with his view that AGI is only going to get built exactly once. Once you've got it, you could then use it to build everything else. And if you think the timeline of within the next 10 years sounds wild, wait till you hear some of the quotes towards the end of the video. And the key thing to remember is that it's not about models just getting more smart. It's about them being more capable, more able to match a goal with a set of actions. As the chief scientist at OpenAI, Ilya Sutskever, said, the upshot is eventually AI systems will become very, very, very capable and powerful. We will not be able to understand them. They'll be much smarter than us. Notice the words capable and powerful there. And his vision, by the way, is that we imprint on them like a parent to a child so that they eventually feel towards us the way we feel towards our babies. Now, I don't know about you, but it's challenging for me to imagine the human race as a baby in the arms of an AGI or superintelligence. But some of you may be thinking, is a superintelligence just a really smart chatbot that sits on a web page somewhere? Well, no, for many reasons, starting with the fact that we're building autonomy into them. I've already discussed on the channel how OpenAI are working on autonomy, and here's Google DeepMind recruiting for the same purpose. And what kind of tasks are we talking about? What about commissioning from a factory?
The purpose of the modern Turing test is to measure what an AI can do, not what it can say. Capabilities, practical creation of real things in the real world, or the use of digital tools, invent a new product from scratch, to get that manufactured by commissioning it in a factory, negotiate over the blueprints of the product, actually get it drop shipped and sell the new product.
His company, Inflection AI, want their Pi personal intelligence to be your digital chief of staff, booking flights, bargaining with other AIs, and maybe even making $1 million. This is particularly interesting to me because Suleiman says that they are not working on autonomy.
I think that we may be working on those capabilities, but they won't necessarily represent an existential threat. I think what I'm saying is they indicate the beginning of a trajectory towards a greater threat, right? At Inflection, we're actually not working on either of those capabilities, recursive self-improvement and autonomy. And I've chosen a product direction which I think can enable us to be extremely successful without needing to work on that. I mean, we're not an AGI company. We're not trying to build a superintelligence.
But aside from autonomy, what else might AGI or superintelligence entail? Well, how about matching or exceeding the problem-solving ability of the best human mathematicians within a decade? Wait, scrap that, 2026. Terence Tao, who I believe is recorded as the highest IQ human around, said this. When integrated with tools, I expect, say, a 2026 level AI, when used properly, will be a trustworthy co-author in mathematical research and in many other fields as well. What else? Well, how about self-improving capabilities? This is from the AI power paradox in Foreign Affairs. Soon, AI developers will likely succeed in creating systems with self-improving capabilities, a critical juncture in the trajectory of this technology that should give everyone pause. OpenAI agrees, saying it's possible that AGI capable enough to accelerate its own progress could cause major changes to happen surprisingly quickly. And back to Suleiman in Foreign Affairs, with each new order of magnitude, unexpected capabilities emerge. Few predicted that training on raw text would enable large language models to produce coherent, novel, and even creative sentences. Fewer still expected language models to be able to compose music or solve scientific problems, as some now can. An order of magnitude, don't forget, means being 10 times bigger. But how about 1,000 times bigger than GPT-4 before in 3 years.
Right. So if everybody gets that power, that starts to look like, individuals having the power of organizations or even states. I'm talking about.
It was Putin. Yeah. Whoever does AI runs the world. And yeah. It's hard to argue with. There's a tremendous amount of disinfo ops that are happening. There's apparently, according to my man Kai Pewter, there's apparently an ongoing shadow war between Microsoft and hackers that are state actors for the Chinese government. I can't confirm that. I don't have enough information. But and that it's been going on for some time. Like there is stuff going on in that regard, which one would expect, right? Governments compete with governments. States compete with states. They do this. I know China said that they are way advanced than anyone in the world, but I don't know if it's talk. They got stuff secret. Yeah, it's hard to tell. This is part of the problem, right? Like, because we live in an adversarial state-run world, it's difficult to both trust the veracity of a lot of the information that you're given, and like that. Sorry, I need my Chatterino doesn't do a good job. What up, Social Deviant? You've been here for a minute. I don't mean to blow up your lurker spot, but I've seen you in the thing for a minute, so thank you. The book Like War. Yeah, now, I mean, I know this is the thing. Like, I appreciate the book recommendation. Like, I have a limited amount of time. I have been doing this audio book, and I expect it to be done within like 2 days, and now it's all the way to Friday, and I haven't finished that. I personally just have a limited amount of time. But your boy has been studying history forever. I have a collection of history books behind me on the shelf. I know, like, there's a nuance that's lost when you bump up the speed, right? Like, there is a pacing that happens. It's something that I try to avoid. You know, however you format it when it was spoken is how, like, because there's impact beats and everything else. You're not wrong if I was just looking for the information, but like I'm also listening to what's not being said, and like that. So, anyways, I know that governments engage in misinfo, disinfo. We have for many, many years. A lot of the people who are currently in tech have. You know, they are the children and grandchildren of the Cold War. You can see it in the language that they use, how they view, you know, China and, you know, socialism, communism, these kind of things. They're, you know, and it makes sense once you consider their environmental conditions. Always consider the way a particular individual acts is based on their, you know, their material conditions. This is fundamental to the thing. What is a thing in and of itself before you go, you know, ascribing what ought to be done, right? Like, I see this a lot, like in leftist circles, about how, for instance, you know, Joe Biden comes out and says he's the most pro-union president, blah, 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 right? If a politician says something, it's political propaganda. Done. Done. He's not, never will be, because, and not just, he could, let's say for argument's sake that Joe Biden wanted to be the most pro-union president in ever, like, he exists in the material conditions that he is president now and wishes to be president again. He has the fundamentals of his party behind him. Whatever you think about Joe Biden, the Democrats, anything else like that, you have to consider what they do is based on their material conditions, right? Their situation, what they are about, and in order to maintain what power they have and whatever kind of thing. And there's also a bunch of things that don't get considered. Before the end of the month, I'm going to have the whiteboard because I want to break down stuff to make it easier to appreciate all the things. Like, my first thing that I'm going to do is I want to talk about high-speed rail, because this is, people are like, on the left, high-speed rail. Okay, let's look at what actually, like, if we were to get high-speed rail, if we wanted to do that, and I don't care about the dollars, right? Like, let's just say that we got the money, right? Like, money is fake. Everything else, if the government wants to do something, the government can do something. So, high-speed rail, what does that actually entail? And then spend the time to break down all the things that means and all the requirements of it and everything else. And then to contextualize all those costs, right? So that people can really appreciate it, because this is the way that I want you to view the world, right? Because it is like that. There are no simple solutions to complex problems. It is easy to say, and don't get me wrong, like, fuck the CEOs, fuck the corporations. I feel that in my bones. But again, a corporation that wants to do good puts itself at a disadvantage within its environment. And when it puts itself at a disadvantage in its environment, it may cease to exist. Not that capitalism will fall or that all companies within that domain will cease to exist, just your company. It's not, nothing is simple, right? We have built up a complex system over the past few hundred years, and it will take a lot of unthreading in order to break it down again. I remember the only racist thing I ever heard my grandma say. Yeah, no, you hear a lot of subtle racism. That's the underlayers that exist in common practice, and it's helpful to be aware that when you hear something, even something that you may have said in the past, none of us is perfect. It's are you getting better every day, and are you improving every day, and are you attempting to unravel these kind of things within yourself? So, yeah, like, I live near a reservation. People get gas from the reservation. I remember the day that somebody said something about, like, because there's a thing where, like, oh, they water their gas. There's water in their gas, so it's bad for your car, like that. And the day that went from being something that just was, right, to, oh no, that's racism, like that kind of moment. And you should stick a pin in that so you can look back on it and, like, use it to extrapolate when other racisms happen, whether they come out of your mouth, someone you know's mouth, there's a lot to unpick. Complex systems, no simple solutions.
models that are like 2 or 3 orders of magnitude, maybe 4 orders of magnitude on from where we are. And we're not far away from that. We're going to be training models that are 1,000x larger than they currently are in the next 3 years. Even at inflection with the compute that we have, we'll be 100x larger than the current frontier models in the next 18 months.
You can start to see why AGI means so much more than just a chatbot. And here's another example. This again came from Suleiman's book released 2 days ago. He talks about the WannaCry ransomware attack that caused billions of dollars of damage back in 2017. And he said, imagine WannaCry being able to patch its own vulnerabilities, learning to detect and stop further attempts to shut it down. A weapon like this is on the horizon, if not already in development. Let's move on though.
Now let's back up though. So this is mentioned in the book. And he Mustafa points this out. Jesus, why can I not move Chatterino? I hate Chatterino. I hate Chatterino, but I need it. Yada yada. So WannaCry was a ransomware attack that infected Microsoft Windows. Okay. And the Shadow Brokers, great name, was the hacker group that released it, but they stole it from the NSA, right? A exploit called Eternal Blue. And like the yada yada that they stole something from the NSA. Like, how did you steal it? Like, how did you get it from the NSA? And what kind of security issues? So, like, there's a lot of shenanigans here that, like, again, like, this is a state actor creating something, and then it was used by these, you know, the shadow brokers in order to do a thing. And it was all one dude. Do we got the thing? Yeah, Marcus Hutchins, right? Marcus Hutchins. There was apparently like a URL within the code that was that nobody owned, and so he bought it, and he was able to fiddle around and control the virus while Microsoft released a patch in order to close the hole, right? But again, like, this is an issue of security, and you know, companies need to spend more on security. Government should be holding companies more responsible for their failures of security. It's not going to happen, or at least it hasn't happened yet. Ever. This fundamentally comes down to the security issues come down to not an externality. What was it? An externality, right? Like, it's the cost of doing business, and if we see it, we'll fix it, and like that. As opposed to, you know, people who work in cybersecurity will tell you that, like, there are issues, and you know, and they don't get fixed because not enough resources dedicated to them.
Attempts to shut it down. A weapon like this is on the horizon, if not already in development. Let's move on though from Suleiman to Demis Hassabis, head of Google DeepMind, and this article yesterday in Time magazine, which was fascinating. Apparently, Hassabis warned Elon Musk about the risks from artificial intelligence back in 2012, saying that machines could become super intelligent and surpass us mere mortals. Maybe that's why he's glad that ChatGPT moved the Overton window of what it's permissible to discuss in public. In 2012, it was probably embarrassing to talk about artificial intelligence, let alone AGI. We also learned that Musk tried to stop DeepMind being sold to Google. Musk put together financing to stop the deal and had an hour-long Skype call with Hassabis, saying the future of AI should not be controlled by Larry. That's Larry Page, one of the co-founders of Google. Obviously, that didn't happen, and we are soon set to see Gemini from Google DeepMind.
And like, fuck Larry, but also fuck Elon. And a lot of this shit is like personal, right? Like there's a certain aspect of it where I look at Elon and I'm like, well, if Elon is against Larry having it, then maybe Larry should have it. Like within the context of CEOs buying companies and all that other crap. On that note, Mustafa Suleiman is not a fan of Peter Thiel. Does not like Peter Thiel. So at least we got that going for us.
Mind. That's their rival to GPT-4. I've got a whole video series on it, so do check that out. But the revelation from today was that Hassabis said this: Gemini represents a combination of scaling and innovation. It's very promising early results. And as a Londoner like me, Hassabis will be prone to understatement. So a British person saying very promising early results means it might shock a few people. Now, do you remember from earlier in the video where I quoted Altman back in 2015 saying this? AI is about making humans better, not a single entity that is a million times more powerful. Well, for Musk, who remember co-founded OpenAI, that was apparently the vision behind Neuralink. That's his attempt to tie the bots closer to humans, making them an extension of the will of individuals, rather than systems that could go rogue and develop their own goals and intentions. Another idea for Musk would be to build a sustainable human colony on Mars before anything went wrong. Speaking of going wrong, we also have this from Demis Hassabis in Time.
If there's an AI apocalypse, if Skynet goes online, if the Terminators start running around, we're all meeting up at Musk's house and dragging him out and offering him up. Come on, man.
Magazine. He was asked, are there any capabilities that, if Gemini, remember that's their version of GPT-4 or 5, exhibited them in your testing phase, you'd decide, no, we cannot release this? He said, yeah, I mean, it's probably several generations down the line. And then for anyone who's watched my Smart GPT series, they'd know that I would agree with the next part. I think the most pressing thing that needs to happen in the research area of AI is to come up with the right evaluation benchmarks for capabilities. Because we'd all love a set of maybe even hundreds of tests where if your system passed it, that could get a kite mark and you'd say, right, this is safe to deploy. The problem is we don't have those types of benchmarks currently. For example, is this system capable of deception? Can it...
It's a common thread in a variety of different, like in the Foundation, the Earth is supposed to be a nuclear wasteland and like that, Yeah.
replicate itself across data centers? This is the kind of level we're talking about. These are the sorts of things you might want to
see, like what was it? Futurama brought us Nixon in a jar with the robot body. Musk would be more likely. I could see Musk being a head in a jar driving a robot body around. Like that does not sound like sci-fi to me.
Tests for, but we need practical, pragmatic tests for them. I think that's the most pressing thing for the field to do as a whole. Our current evals and benchmarks are just not up to the task. But apparently we have plenty of time to do this, at least according to Suleiman, who, don't forget, along with Hassabis, was the co-founder of DeepMind.
Many of us more or less expected, or were more or less sure was coming, which was there'd be a breakthrough at some company like DeepMind where we would the people building the technology would recognize that they had finally gotten into the end zone or close enough to it so that they're now in the presence of something that's fundamentally different than anything that's come before. And there'd be this question, okay, is this safe to work with, safe to create an API for? The idea was that you'd have this digital oracle, in a box, would already have been air-gapped from the internet and incapable of doing anything until we let it out. And then the question would be, have we done enough safety testing to let it out? But now it's pretty clear that everything is already more or less out, and we're building our most powerful models already in the wild. They're open source versions of the next best model. And is containment even a dream at this point?
It's definitely not too late. We're a long, long way away. This is really just the beginning. We have plenty of time to address this. The more that these models and these ideas happen in the open, the more they can be scrutinized and they can be pressure tested and held accountable. So I think it's great that they're happening in open source at the moment. We have to be humble about the practical reality about how these things emerge.
I don't like when people say things like long time, right? This is problematic wording on its face, because long time is just subjective, right? Like for your kid, if you're going to, their favorite movie or pizza place or whatever, the half an hour where you get ready is a long time, right? Are we talking months, years, decades? Give me some kind of solid number, or like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Initial framing that it was going to be possible to invent this Oracle AI that stays in a box and we'll just probe it and poke it and test it until we can prove that it's going to be safe, that we'll stay in the bunker and keep it hidden from everybody. I mean, this is a complete nonsense, and it's attached to the superintelligence framing. It was just a completely wrong metaphor.
He might want to tell that to Hassabis, who said this recently. If a system didn't pass the evals, that means you wouldn't release it until you sorted that out. And perhaps you would do that in something like a hardened simulator or hardened sandbox with cybersecurity things around it. So these are the types of ideas we have, but they need to be made a little bit more concrete. I think that's the most pressing thing to be done in time for those types of systems when they arrive. And here's the key moment, because I think we've got a couple of years probably, or more. That's not actually a lot of time if you think about the research that has to be done. I think I am much closer to Hassabis than Suleiman on this one. Personally, I'd love a button where you could...
And this is like from everyone is working with different models, and we don't have shared definitions. LeCun doesn't think that AGI is even possible, and he's working on artificial intelligence for Meta. Suleiman is Anthropic, thinks that we've got a long time. Hassabis is talking a few years. David Shapiro is talking 18 months as of a couple months ago, so we're like 16, 15 months at this point. Ray Kurzweil is talking about by 2029. And I understand that, like, a bunch of that is going to be speculative, right? But the idea that this is happening in the open indicates that there's something to like, that we can map it out, right? And no one is mapping this out using the same definitions. Like, what do you mean by AGI? What do you mean by this? What do you mean by that? It's not being expressed.
Click at the exact moment where you want AI to stop. For me, that would be after it cures Alzheimer's, but before it creates rabies 2.0. It would be after it solves mathematics, but before it gets too good at warfare. Maybe such a button could be devised at Bletchley Park in November, which was the place where the Enigma was cracked in World War II. They are being advised by some of the top minds in AI, so there is a chance. And apparently they want 10 times as many people to join them in the next few weeks. But anyway, at the very least, I hope I've persuaded you that AGI is going to mean a lot more than just clever chatbots. Thank you so much for watching to the end, and have a wonderful day.
There's been a handful of
Okay, I need to use the bathroom, and then looks like we got time for one more video, and then it's movie night. For those of you joining the movie night, you got to be in the Discord. We're going to be in Watch together. I did a test run. Everything went as expected, so I'm expecting that same thing. We're going to be watching 2001, Space Odyssey, and a couple of things around that is, one, the movie is 2.5 hours long. So if we started around 8 o'clock, we'll be finishing around 10:30 Eastern. And two, there is, at the beginning of the movie, there is a black screen with like noise, but it's part of the experience, but just so that you expect it. I will reiterate that once the movie starts. And the only thing I didn't do was like a sound test with an independent person. I'm getting my sound from the PC. Everything seemed to be correct, but we should be able to figure out if there are any technical issues. There is a period of flashing lights towards the end of the movie. So if flashing lights affect you in any negative capacity, it should be apparent when that's about to happen, but I will make sure that, you are aware of it. But yeah, it's a great movie and I look forward to sharing it with you. Okay, I will be right back. Got to use the bathroom.
Earlier you told Dr. Bryce something about Globus.
The Globus never sleeps.
No one was in here. Everyone was asleep.
The Globus never sleeps.
We will show them that it is feasible. That the budget is nothing more or less than a plan for spending our money. A plan which can and must be adapted to meet our needs.
Earlier you told Dr. Bryce something about Globus.
The Globus never sleeps.
When the pandemic struck, Globus was well placed to respond.
The Globus never sleeps.
The time has come for mankind to take longer strides. We must move further down the line.
Earlier you told Dr. Bryce something about Globus.
The Globus never sleeps.
No one was in here. Everyone was asleep.
The Globus never sleeps.
Globus is embarking on a new chapter.
The Globus never sleeps.
Earlier you told Dr. Bryce something about Globus.
The Globus never sleeps.
All right, and we're back. Do 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 do. All right, we'll watch the today's Matt Wolf video. It just dropped. And then we'll do the AI consciousness, human future stuff. We'll do that on Monday. Sound good? Good. I'm glad you agree with me.
Exciting things that have happened in the AI world this week, so let's go ahead and break them down. Starting with the fact that X formerly known as Twitter, updated their terms of service to include the ability to train any of your data on AI. So they actually updated their terms of service under 2.1, operate, improve, and personalize our services to say, we may use the information we collect and publicly.
This is brand new, right? Like, they did that a minute ago. Yeah, this is from 3 hours ago. I don't know, maybe they made it official or updated it again.
Available information to help train our machine learning or artificial intelligence models for the purpose outlined in this policy. This article here on Stack Diary is making the prediction that at some point, Elon is planning on merging X Corp with XAI Corp and using all of the data that it trained from Twitter in its new upcoming XAI platform. Also this week, Zoom rebranded what it was calling Zoom IQ.
Your opinions do matter, old lobster. They do. I was gonna make a joke. I was gonna meme, but they do matter. I'm just making a command decision based on the process.
They're now calling it the Zoom AI Companion. One of the most interesting things about this Zoom Companion is that you'll be able to ask questions of it just like you do with ChatGPT, and it will reference all the conversations you've had in past Zoom conversations to answer your queries in this chat. It says here, users will be able to query the AI Companion for the status of projects, pulling on transcribed meetings.
I need this. I need this for this stream, right? Because, you know, brain no work as good as used to, right? Like, and if I could ask the either the Globus GPT or the Twitch GPT or whatever, like, to reference a point that I made on a previous episode, and it could provide me with the point that I made, if it could provide me with, like, run a clip of me talking about that thing, give me the timestamp. Oh my God. Why not? You could do that. Like, I can see it. I can see the things that already exist or are on the verge of existing and how you could do that.
Meetings, chats, whiteboards, emails, documents, and even third-party apps. They'll be able to ask the AI Companion questions during a meeting to catch up on key points, create and file support tickets, and draft responses to inquiries, as well as features that it was already able to do, like have the AI Companion summarize meetings, automatically identifying action items, and surfacing next steps. Zoom even put out this video showing somebody asking a question, what has been discussed so far? And the AI Companion catches the person up as they join the Zoom meeting. So even if someone's late to the meeting, they can still get caught up to date on everything that's been talked about. That's something that we also recently saw Google talk about at their Cloud Next event when they showed off that they were rolling out similar features with Google Duet. The video also showed off a handy chapters feature you can see down here at the bottom where you can jump to specific parts of the meeting. A lot of these new Zoom features look pretty cool, but as we've been seeing, a lot of these other platforms.
This meeting could have been an email. It really could have, right? Like, we are going to, the AIs do the meeting, and then they send you an email. Not kill us. They send you an email telling you what you missed, and you can continue about your important work.
Platforms like Google and Microsoft are also rolling out pretty much the exact same features inside of their competing products. So it'll be interesting to see if Zoom can actually differentiate themselves and do something at least a little bit different from what we're starting to see Google and Microsoft roll out. Now, probably the biggest news in the AI world this week was that the open source Falcon 180B,
as soon as someone creates the murder bots in order to reduce the population, the murder bots get hacked and reduce the other portion of the population. It can be bad sometimes my coworkers and I talk mad shit while we wait for some. Yeah. Well, that's what you gotta know when your mic is hot. That's all I'm saying. You know, you run it through. You know, you have your Discord up to do your shit talk or something. I don't know. I avoid shit talk. The internet is forever. Anything I put out into the internet is treated as if it could come up as Exhibit A, right? I need to be able to defend everything that I say whenever I say it. Like, that's my approach to the internet. You do you, boo. you go ahead and you clip my shit talk. It is, I stand by whatever I say, unless you take me out of context, right? Like, but that's why the VODs are there, so that way I can go in and provide the context, because I stand by the VODs, not whatever Old Lobster does.
Was launched, making it the largest publicly available open source large language model to date, completely eclipsing Llama 2's 70 billion
Yeah, I'm open. I got nothing to hide.
parameters.
Exactly. If someone were to attempt to pull some shenanigans by dropping like, oh, look what Globus said here in this Discord DM or whatever, I'm just going to take the entirety of our conversation, of the entirety of the time it exists, and just give it all. Like, here is the record. You decide. I have no problem standing by whatever I said, whatever was done out of context or something weird like that. No, just... You could. I stand by whatever I said.
Capabilities of Falcon 180B sit somewhere between GPT 3.5 and GPT 4. So you're probably going to get better results and better output than you will with like the free version of ChatGPT, but not quite as good of results as what you'd see with something like GPT 4 inside of ChatGPT. It kind of falls in between. And across the benchmarking test that was done with Falcon 7DB, it actually outperformed Google's Palm in most scenarios. And on the Hugging Face leaderboard, Falcon 180B is the highest scoring openly released pre-trained large language model, surpassing Meta's Llama 2. So it's really exciting to see a model this large and this powerful being open sourced so that anybody out there can build off of it and iterate off of it. And anybody can go and use it and play around with it right now because it's available on Hugging Face. You can go use the Falcon 180B demo. I'll make sure.
AI is ultimately
The homie Nabil.
exactly who we are.
The homie Nabil. What up, homie? How you doing?
Sure, it's linked below in the description, but you would use it just like any other chatbot. Now, I'm not going to get too deep into it in this video. I'll probably do a different video in the future where we break.
Yeah, I got no more complaints than usual. I hope you're well as well. I don't know if you're streaming later. If not, we're doing a movie night at 8 o'clock Eastern. So in about a half an hour, we're going to fire it up. We're going to watch 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Down this chatbot specifically. I want to try to rapidly get through the news. For example, let's enter the prompt, what are the most exciting scientific discoveries of the 2020s, and click submit. And you can see it quickly starts generating a response here. I do not have personal opinions, but I can provide information about some of the most exciting scientific discoveries that have been reported so far in the 2020s. Here are some examples. The development of mRNA vaccines, gravitational waves from neutron star mergers, CRISPR, detection of water on the moon. And then it cut off on number 5, probably because I have this token limit way down. Let's see what happens if I bring this token limit way up and try again. And you can see by cranking the token limit up, I got a much longer output where it gave me a full 10 scientific advances of the 2020s. Speaking of large language models, the not open source Anthropic Claude just released a pro plan, and it seems very similar to what ChatGPT did with their pro plan. If we take a peek here, it costs $20 a month to use it, and what you get for it is 5 times more usage than the free tier provides, which is interesting because I've actually never gotten to my limit on the free tier. I use Claude quite a bit, but I've never pushed that limit to where it says I can't use it anymore. So I'm not actually sure where the free tier limit is yet. You get priority access to Claude AI during high traffic periods, very similar to what ChatGPT did. And of course, you get early access to new features that help you get the most out of Claude. Now, personally, I use Claude more than ChatGPT these days. I use it for summarizing articles. When I write my Friday newsletters, I actually have it double check a lot of the grammar and spelling for me on those newsletters. It's been a pretty valuable resource to me, but again, I actually haven't hit my limits yet of what the free plan is capable of. This week, OpenAI introduced a Canva plugin for ChatGPT Plus subscribers to enhance content creation. Taking a peek here, if I come over to my ChatGPT account, click on the GPT-4 up here, click on plugins, click where it says no plugins enabled, and then click on the plugin store. Let's do a quick search for Canva, install the Canva plugin. And now that we have the Canva plugin selected, let's test this quick prompt here recommended by Paul Couvert. I'm launching my new AI related app, create a real Instagram template related to AI and new technologies. Let's see what happens if we use that exact same prompt here over on ChatGPT. Paste that in there. And it actually gave us a bunch of templates here. Dark blue, futuristic AI, the future Instagram post. If I click on check it out, it opens up my Canva, and this post is right here inside of Canva. What it did was it found an existing template for me, and it just opened that template for me in Canva. It was an existing one. Here's one called Abstract Artificial Intelligence Technology Free Logo. Not a bad looking logo, but I have a feeling it's not unique. And right there, you can see it's already a pre-made template. So this plugin's not actually building anything for us. It's just essentially searching Canva for existing templates based on what we asked for. Still pretty handy, because sometimes searching through Canva for the exact right template could be tedious. So ChatGPT just bringing the 5 most relevant to our attention, actually kind of useful. And speaking of OpenAI, they'll be hosting.
And I can see them expanding on that as they make, like, GPT-5 is intended to be multimodal, and GPT-4 was not. So it's distinctly possible these are like test runs of that, and that, you know, if you can tie in multiple things, you could have it generate. I don't see any reason why you couldn't have it run a script where it generates, you know, a few different examples of that kind of thing, especially now that the words, like, it's getting better at writing words, all that kind of stuff within the picture. Yeah, I would expect that to advance pretty quickly.
Hosting their first ever developer conference on November 6th. If we take a peek here at the official announcement, the developer conference will be in San Francisco, and it'll bring hundreds of developers from around the world together with the team at OpenAI to preview new tools and exchange ideas. So that'll be really interesting, because there could be some new announcements and new functionality of ChatGPT that gets revealed during this event. In this quick post on the OpenAI site, Sam Altman said, "We're looking forward to showing our latest work to enable developers to build new things." Now, I'm not clear if Sam Altman or Greg Brockman or Ilya Sutskever or any of the, you know, bigwigs over at OpenAI are actually going to be in attendance, but that would be pretty cool if they are. If I wasn't going to be on a family vacation during that exact week, I'd probably make the trip up. Now, on the vein of using AI for audio, remember that song, that Heart on My Sleeve song that was like a fake Drake song that went sort of viral by this guy named Ghostwriter? Well, that guy or girl or whoever it was is back at it again with a brand new song. And this time, they actually want to try to win a Grammy with it. Now, on September 6th, when I actually came across this article, they actually had the song playable right here on the website, but now it's saying video currently unavailable. So apparently it was already taken down. I probably wouldn't have played it on this channel anyway, because I don't want to get my videos taken down. This time, the song was trying to mimic Travis Scott and 21 Savage in a song called Whiplash. And at the very end of the TikTok video, some text flashed on the screen that said that if Travis Scott and 21 Savage wanted to get in contact, he would divert all royalties made from this song over to them, and wanted to figure out how to collaborate with musicians on actually moving into whatever the next wave of music is going to be. Now, I personally haven't heard yet whether Travis Scott or 21 Savage actually reached out, or if anything's ever going to come of this, because it looks like TikTok's already taken it down, but I'm sure a quick Google search will help you find it if you really wanted to hear the song. Now, speaking of AI music, in a recent video, I showed off Suno, which makes a tool called Chirp. And this Chirp tool was that tool where you can give it an idea for a song. It would generate the song for you with background music and everything. And I showed off a version that wasn't quite released yet, where you can actually pick the genre of the song and it would make it in that genre. Suno just announced this week that Chirp version 1 is now available in Discord, which is the version that I showed off in that last video a couple weeks ago whenever I posted it. So if I jump into Discord real quick, if I go into the Suno Discord channel here and I go into one of these Chirp beta rooms, type / to get this little pop-up box, and then select /chirp, hit enter, and it should give me a little dialogue. It gives me the option to describe the style of music, enter my own lyrics, or have ChatGPT make lyrics about. So let's do bluegrass, and then have ChatGPT write me a song about why Future Tools is the best place to find out about new AI tools. It already generated the lyrics here for me, and after 69.62 seconds, I've got 2 versions back.
I was searching far and wide for AI tools that would guide. To future tools I came where opportunities reside. With their expertise and insight, my worries were set aside. The best place to find new AI tools I cannot hide. Future tools, oh future tools, the knowledge they impart. They're the pioneers leading the way in this AI.
Or cut off. I was really digging that song. Here's the other version it did.
I was searching far and wide for AI tools that would guide. To future tools I came where opportunities reside. With their expertise and insight, my worries were set aside. The best place to find new AI tools I cannot hide. Future tools, oh future tools, the knowledge they impart. They're the
I mean, this isn't terrible. Like it has a long way to go, but it's like I've heard songs that sound like this. And of course when you're doing it for like basically what amounts to a jingle, it ain't good, right? Like, but it ain't good because the subject matter is bad, right? A lot of the AI Mercury stuff, Sarah, has been taken down. But yeah, we are not that far away from exactly what you're talking about. And what up, Maddie? We aren't that far away from having the ability to create a video of Freddie Mercury singing a cover of a song as Freddie Mercury.
pioneers leading the way in this AI art. Discovering innovations right from the very
start. They're actually really good. I wish there was a way to extend them. But this is now available for anybody to play with, and as of right now, it's actually free to use.
And like this is all prefaced that you have to like enjoy bluegrass, and I enjoy bluegrass. Like it's a whole thing. Well, everything is up in the air, and nobody wants to get sued, get demonetized, any of that kind of stuff. So it's like we're still in the figuring out stage.
But if we take a peek over at their announcement, they do.
But there is like, Universal Music Group and YouTube, and various other entities have all gotten together to try and work something out. So like, we're not that far from something happening. I just can't give you a timetable because they haven't given me one.
You have a free and a pro plan. All users are automatically subscribed to the free plan upon joining Suno's Discord. The free plan includes 250 credits or 25 chirps per month, and free subscribers will still be able to work solo in their DMs. The pro plan, on the other hand, is $10 a month, and it gives subscribers 1,000 credits or 100 chirps per month, the ability to buy additional generations, priority in the queue, and more features that will come soon. But at the very least, go check it out. Generate a couple songs on the free tier and see what it can do, because
and it, like, for this kind of thing, starting off with like it said 4 to 8 lines work best. It looks like it's good at like, doing a verse and then a chorus, right? So more like an assistant to like give you something to work with rather than develop an entire thing itself. There are I think Runway was one where you can, with their videos, you take the last scene of the video that it creates, you put it as the template for the new video, and it continues, and you're able to stretch that out, and they have an automatic process that goes up to like a total video of like 18 seconds, and then theoretically you could just continue to do that and make an extended, long video. I would like to see something like that for this to have like, viability for creating in and of itself, where if I can enter in my lyrics and choose the style of music, then it could generate the song for me. And if it can only generate a small thing, then I could use that to generate like the next portion and be able to construct an entire song out of it. Where if my talent lies in writing lyrics and not in, creating music or anything else like that.
Is kind of a blast. Now let's talk about the world of AI art for a second. Not a ton of huge revelations this week in AI art. However, my good friend Ali Jules did hang out on the Midjourney office hours, and as always reported back to X with what they talked about. It sounds like sometime in September, version 5.3 is going to be released with new aesthetics. They also admitted on the call that when you are using the in-paint feature, it actually generates better images when you in-paint with the full canvas. So for example, if I take an image like this, click on Vary Region, and then literally select the whole image like that, and then generate again, it actually uses a slightly newer model of Midjourney, which often gets you better results. So if you generate an image that you like and it's fairly close, you can do a Vary Region, select the whole thing, and just generate another image with the exact same prompt, and it might actually come out better than what the original image came out as. They claim they've got an early version of version 6 ready, but they still plan on taking a while to release it. They also claim it should be able to generate text, but still no estimated release time. They plan on releasing the website in 2 parts. The new website that they're launching won't have image generation turned on at first, so it's probably just going to be a redesigned Midjourney homepage kind of thing with better search and downloading features. Supposedly that part 2 that's coming out whenever they decide to release it will have the ability to actually generate images inside of the Midjourney web app and finally get us out of Discord. They're also working on a native mobile app. It sounds like there's going to be upgrades to the Niji model, and it sounds like eventually we're going to have video and 3D, and they'll probably be coming out about the same time. So pretty cool. And once again, thanks to Ali Jules for making these updates on Midjourney for those of us that don't have several hours to spend in the Midjourney office hours calls. Speaking of AI art news, this week a bunch of artists signed an open letter saying that generative AI is good, actually. There's been a lot of news and letters and things going around where people are trying to sue companies and shut down an AI and say AI bad. But now it looks like a group of artists are stepping up saying, we actually like AI. Let AI keep doing its thing. It's actually making art easier and cooler and giving us new things to play with in the AI world. In this snippet, it says, just like previous innovations, these tools lower barriers in creating art, a career that has been traditionally limited to those with considerable financial means, abled bodies, and the right social connections. Unfortunately, the diverse, pioneering work of individual human artists is being misrepresented. Some say it is about merely typing in prompts or regurgitating existing works. Others deride our methods and our art as based on stealing and data theft. Many individual artists are afraid of backlash if they so much as touch these important new tools. So it's cool to see that some artists are actually taking a stand going, yeah, there are some vocal artists over here saying we hate AI bad, get rid of it, AI should go away. But that's misrepresentation of the overall art community. A big chunk of the art community actually wants to see AI art succeed and get better and do cooler things. And in other kind of sort of AI art news, Microsoft is actually testing background removal in Microsoft Paint. So you can see a demonstration here of a little flappy dude with feathers where Microsoft Paint was just flat out able to remove the background. That'll be a pretty handy feature. Right now I use Canva or the Adobe image background remover tool, but to have it straight inside of a desktop.
Paint, right? Paint will never die.
App in Microsoft Paint, I mean, could save me a few seconds in having to remove backgrounds. A lot of the AI world has actually talked about how Apple seems to be kind of lagging behind in the AI world. Everything seems to be all about Microsoft and Google and OpenAI and Elon Musk and all of that kind of stuff. But according to reports, Apple is actually spending millions of dollars a day on training AI. Apple actually believes that Ajax, its most advanced language model, is more powerful than ChatGPT. Right now, Apple's AI team has around 6 16 members, including several former Google engineers. This all comes from an article from The Information, and they claim that a visual intelligence unit is developing an image generation model, and another group is researching multimodal AI, which can recognize and produce images or video as well as text. Now, these are all just reports. This isn't anything specifically announced by Apple, but we definitely shouldn't count Apple out of the AI race. They are definitely doing a ton of crazy AI stuff behind the scenes. So this is pretty interesting. It's actually called Amazon One, and it's a tool where it actually scans your hand, and it can use it for payments and loyalty cards and entry access and various ways to identify you by your palm. And they actually use generative AI to train this. In fact, they created a whole bunch of synthetic hands using AI and trained it on these synthetic hands to help better recognize real hands. And supposedly it's more accurate than scanning your retinas. The idea being that in the future, if you want to pay with credit cards, you need to show identification, you want to access entry to a concert or something like that, you no longer need to scan your phone or a ticket. You just wave your palm over a sensor and it knows that you're you and you're supposed to be there. This week, an article came out in Time magazine all about Elon Musk's struggle for the future of AI. Now, it's quite a hefty read, but basically, it sort of breaks down Elon's history with AI. It talks about how he's been deeply concerned about the risks of uncontrolled AI and how he actually had arguments with Larry Page, who called him a specious for wanting to value lives of humans over potential consciousness of computers. In 2015, Elon Musk co-founded OpenAI in order to go head-to-head with Google's dominance in the AI world. Basically, Walter Isaacson, the guy who wrote the Steve Jobs book, is also now writing a book about Elon Musk. And this article breaks down some of the stories that Elon has about his relationship with AI and how Elon is feeling this increasing urge to try to make AI as safe as possible, while at the same time get humans on Mars in case things go haywire. Also this week, an article was released on Fast Company about why Yann LeCun isn't buying the AI doomer narrative. If you're not familiar with Yann LeCun, he is one of the godfathers, one of the early OGs of AI. In this article, he talks about how releasing these AI models to the public to get their hands on in sort of open source models and things like that will actually help improve these models faster. It was actually LeCun who urged Meta to start open sourcing a lot of their AI models. Yann LeCun compares AI to the invention of the car. You can have a car that rides 3.
And remember, LeCun doesn't think that AGI is a thing, right? Like, he doesn't think we're going to get there. It's an important piece of context, just in case we get to a future in which we have AGI.
Miles an hour and crashes often, which is what we currently have, describing the latest generation of large language models. Or you can have a car that goes faster, so it's scarier, but it's got brakes and seatbelts and airbags and emergency braking systems that detects obstacles, so in many ways it's safer. So basically he believes it's completely overblown. Large language models are prone to hallucinations and have no concept of how the world works, no capacity to plan, and no ability to complete basic tasks that a 10-year-old could learn in a matter of minutes. They have come nowhere close to achieving human or even animal intelligence, he argues, and there's little evidence at this point that they will. And in even another hot take that came out, well, at the end of last week, Mustafa Suleyman, the co-founder of Inflection AI and one of the original founders of DeepMind, had a lot to say about where he believes AI is going. Suleyman believes that AI is about to completely reshape the world. This article literally starts off with the sentence, "We are about to see the greatest redistribution of power in history." The article argues that a lot of the white-collar jobs are going to be eliminated by AI, and he's talking about things like doctors, lawyers, accountants, business VPs. We're getting to a time where technology is able to do more and more things for humans, to a point where humans being the workers is essentially going to be the old way. These AIs will organize a retirement party and manage your diary. They will develop and execute business strategies whilst designing new drugs to fight cancer. They will plan and run hospitals or invasions just as much as they will answer your email. Building an airline or instead grounding the entire fleet each becomes more achievable. Whether it's commercial, religious, cultural, or military, democratic, or authoritarian, every possible motivation you can think of can be dramatically enhanced by having cheaper power at your fingertips. These tools will be available to everyone, billionaires and street hustlers, kids in India, and pensioners in Beverly Hills. A proliferation of not just technology, but capability itself. The argument here is essentially that the role of humans, the role of businesses, all needs to sort of be rethought, because inevitably, if computers and technology can do it better, faster, cheaper, safer, all of that kind of stuff for us.
Okay. So Matt Wolf watches David Shapiro because that's exactly what David Shapiro said earlier this week. It's hilarious how all these new technologies come out and the big prophecy is
that's likely the route that humans are going to take.
everyone will have access. It'll flatten everything out. Well, like this stuff is open source, right? And the other thing that happens is that you get the process of agents, right? If I have access to an AGI or an artificial intelligence that's sufficiently advanced, I can have it make me an artificial intelligence that's sufficiently advanced to do whatever I need, right? And it won't, I've been saying that, David Shapiro's been saying that, other people have been saying, like, the current, every person, if what? Everyone, you have access to this stuff right now. Now, don't get me wrong. Like, there are questions of access for people who don't have access to internet, people who don't have access to a computer. There's a variety of that stuff that currently exists. The idea behind this is that the costs of these kind of things are going to trend to zero because of what AI and automation is going to do to the entire process of productivity, of manufacturing, of all these things. Like that this is going to happen. You're going to not have workers. You are going to have automation that can work 24 hours a day. You're going to have automation that can, do that kind of thing. Well, my main point is that these technologies are pushed as it'll raise everyone up socioeconomically. That is my position, yes.
And as we take that route and get further and further down that route, the way we see ourselves, humans, as the workers, the ones who do the things, needs to change. If you want to dive deeper into this article and its implications, there's actually a great video here by David Shapiro. I'll make sure it's linked up in the description.
I'm glad to see it, right? Like, even if I'm not in the club, that specific statement in the video, like, yeah, I think I'm missing something.
Article and its implications. There's actually a great video here by David Shapiro. I'll make sure it's.
Oh, what are you doing? OBS is freaking the fuck out. Something updating. Ba-doop boop boop boo boo. Ba-doop boo boo. Ba-doop boop boop boo boo. Ba-doop boo boo. Ba-doop boop boop boo boo. Come on, I'm just trying to get to the end of the video.
It's linked up in the description. It's about 10 minutes, and he really really breaks down the implications and deep dives on this specific article. I highly recommend watching it. It's definitely worth the time. But that's 3 completely different takes on where AI is headed right now. Elon Musk, who's scared and wants to fix things and wants to get us off this planet if possible. Jan LeCun, who believes all of this is overblown and everybody's just kind of worrying too much about where AI is going. And Mustafa Suleyman, who believes that this is about to dramatically change the world. Not necessarily in the negative, positive sense, in the sense that we just need to rethink everything. We need to rethink how we see labor and work and what the humans' roles on this planet are. So 3 completely different thought processes around AI, and hard to say which one I sort of lead to. I definitely think there's probably bits and pieces of all 3 of them that I could relate to. So I just love going down these rabbit holes and hearing what others think about it and getting my own thoughts spinning on where this is all headed. In my mind, it's just fascinating. The smartest people that are out there actually building this stuff, the Elon Musk, the Jan LeCuns, the Mustafa Suleymans, these people are all on the inside. They're seeing this stuff being built. They know better than anybody else where this is heading. And so to get 3 articles within 1 week of all of their thought processes of where this is right now, it's just fascinating to me to sort of put them all together and have that sort of holistic view of where AI could potentially be heading. And finally, to wrap this video up, Time released their top 100 most influential people in AI this week. They broke it down into 4 categories. They also picked tops of each category, such as Dario and Danielo Amodei. I'm not sure if I pronounced that or not, but they're the presidents of Anthropic, who we talked about earlier in this video. Of course, Sam Altman, Demis Hassabis, Elon Musk, Jensen Huang, and Mustafa Suleyman, who we also just mentioned. There's the innovators, led by Ted Chiang, shapers led by Alondra Nelson, but also including Eric Schmidt from Google, Eliezer Yudkowsky, someone who literally believes that at the pace AI is going, we have about a year left on this planet. And finally, the thinkers, led by Geoffrey Hinton, the godfather of AI, also including Jan LeCun, who we talked about earlier in this video, Ilya Sutskever, the co-founder of OpenAI, and many others. There are some omissions to this list that I found interesting. It's interesting to me that Ahmad Mustaq from Stability AI didn't make the list. I also kind of find it a bummer that creators who are also sort of pointing people in the direction of a lot of the innovations didn't make the list either, but I can't complain about that too much. But there definitely are people out there that are really helping push the AI narrative forward. People like Robert Scoble and Rowan Chung and Ben Tossell, and maybe I'd toss myself in there as well. We're trying to do our best to keep the public informed about where AI is going. But again, this is just the top 100. Maybe we'd fall into the top 200. Who knows? Anyway, that's all I got for you today. I really appreciate you. If you haven't already, check out futuretools.io.
Check out futuretools.io. Okay. That's going to be a wrap. I am not going to I'm not going to rate out. I'm going to wrap this up, shut it down, restart some stuff. This is the Discord if you want to join the movie night. If not, I hope you enjoy wherever it is that you are going for the rest of your evening. Again, the movie is 2001 Space Odyssey. It's going to start in a few minutes. I just have to attend to the children and make sure that the children are in their proper place for the rest of the evening, or at least until the wife comes home and like that. So, yeah, I appreciate every one of you. I look forward to, this is my first movie night. I'm kind of excited. I'm actually going to close my... Yeah, I just want to restart everything so that it's fresh and everything works properly, because that OBS glitch kind of scared me for that. So, yeah, expect me in... We're going to be in Watch Together in the Discord in, let's say, around 15 minutes, so 8:15. Yeah, to those of you who are leaving, drink your water, eat your food, Take your meds if you forgot. Shuggy loves you.